Yo, what's good? What's good?
Shots fired! Shots fired!
What's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room yet again, always with another one. And yes, indeed, it is another one. So listen, look, we are here tonight. Tonight is the night. The thing of this is yes, votes should be in. Everybody should have been voted by now to a degree. Certain polls that are still, on the closing and things like that in certain states. I'm Central Standard Time, so there are other states out there that are still haven't closed out yet. So, we're waiting, we're counting it down. But, first, before we, dive off into it too deep, let's go here now. Yes, I'm riding off into it. We got a few things that I want to get into with you guys. We're gonna go here now and we're gonna check some more stuff out. First of all, let's see what's going on with the Senate and see what's going to happen with that situation in the Senate right here. Quarters, nickels, and dimes.
Welcome back to CBS News' America Decides. The U.S. House and the Senate are both controlled narrowly by each party at this very moment. And tonight, we could very well see the balance of that power shift, Lindsay.
Our congressional correspondent Scott McFarland has a look at the races to watch.
Sometimes we like to binge watch things. We don't like cliffhangers. This is not going to be one of those nights. There's going to be cliffhangers, not just for control of the U.S. Senate, but almost certainly for control of the U.S. House. Let's start off with the Senate. Democrats will begin this evening already painted into a corner with very little margin for error. Here's who's staying in the U.S. Senate no matter what happens tonight. Two-thirds of the Senate is not up for election. But you can see how Democrats have far more to protect than Republicans do of those white seats behind me. And they're going to begin with a challenge. One of the first states to have their polls close is West Virginia, where the Democrat is retiring. Joe Manchin will no longer be a senator after this year. And the challengers include the Republican governor, Jim Justice, and the Democrat, Glenn Elliott. Republicans are especially bullish about their prospects of taking this seat, having a two-term popular governor as their nominee. Attention will then shift to Ohio, just to the west, where third-term Democratic incumbent Sherrod Brown is trying to win a fourth term against a Republican challenger endorsed by Donald Trump in a state won in 2020 and 2016 by Donald Trump. The challenger is Bernie Moreno. Sherrod Brown has withstood challenges before, but he's never been on the ballot when Donald Trump is too. That's the case tonight. To the north of West Virginia, another challenge for Democrats. Bob Casey is another one of those third-term incumbents trying to win a fourth term, but for the first time having to do it with Trump on the ballot as well. Bob Casey, son of the former governor, trying to top Dave McCormick, the Republican nominee this year, endorsed by Trump, has raised tens of millions of dollars. McCormick lost a primary for the nomination in 2022, but he won it this year. And then, oh, by the way, another third-term Democratic incumbent running in a state Donald Trump won in 2020 and 2016. John Tester trying to hold off political newcomer, Republican nominee Tim Sheehy. The party was excited about this nominee, the Republicans were. He's been very well funded. The polling has looked good. So that's the Democrats' issue. Republicans have an issue in the U.S. House where they begin the evening in something of a corner. The entire U.S. House is up for election tonight, but Republicans are defending an awful lot of seats Joe Biden won in 2020, including several in New York. In New York's 17th district, the Democratic challenger Mondaire Jones is a former congressman. Mike Lawler, the first-term incumbent, trying to hold on to a seat that was a Biden seat in 2020. Same is true in the New York 19th. A Biden seat in 2020, a first-term Republican trying to hold on to it. Same deal on Long Island in New York's 4th. A first-term Republican trying to hold on to a seat Joe Biden won in 2020.
Scott McFarland, thank you. And our Ed O'Keefe joins us now at the desk. He's going to be here throughout the whole night with us with the analysis only he can give. So stay tuned for that. Another state, of course, that we are watching where Democrats have argued they could stage an upset is Texas. Incumbent Republican Senator Ted Cruz has been in office for more than a decade and is facing a pretty formidable challenge by Democratic Congressman Colin Allred. Omar Villafranco, who's covering that race for us, is in Dallas. Omar, Democrats have had their eyes on this seat for a while now. What's the feeling in Texas this afternoon?
Well, the Democrats are watching this. They're optimistic, but nobody's flat out saying that they have this won. Now, Ted Cruz is seeking a third term here, but Democrats are hoping that Colin Allred can close that gap and possibly upset this race. Now, keep in mind, if that happens, if Colin Allred beats Ted Cruz, not only does that have implications for Texas, that will have national implications as well. So a lot of eyes will be on this race.
Right, that definitely will. Ted Cruz, you know what I'm saying? Come on now. That will have national implications. Okay, let's keep going.
All right, Omar Villafranca in Dallas for us. Omar, thank you very much. All right, Ed, let's talk about what you're seeing tonight. I mean, we just got a really good picture of what we can expect in the House and the Senate from McFarland, but just writ large, this race, this campaign, you've been covering it since the beginning. Break it down for us.
I mean, tonight is the resolution, or tonight in the next few days, certainly the resolution of one of the most acrimonious I think the country's ever had, certainly in modern history. I think we're going to see some surprises, whether it's at the presidential level or congressional level, we'll wait and see. But given how tumultuous this whole year has been, something that's supposed to be up is probably going to be down, something that's supposed to be down is probably going to be up, or side to side, and we'll just have to wait and see. I think that poll over the weekend, for example, from Iowa that got everyone talking, is an indicator that there are things happening in different states that suggest some kind of realignment or just a desire to vote differently for whatever reason is underway. Don't be surprised, for example, if we see tighter margins here in New York, over in New Jersey, or in states like Utah and Iowa, out west and in the middle of the country, simply because this has driven out more people who feel strongly about this, and who may be picking and choosing from both sides, believing that it's time to get back to a point where you vote for someone who's president and then vote for someone else down the ballot.
Real quick, since we're going to get some of the exit polling here in just about 35 minutes, what are you going to be watching for most?
Let's see if we get early indications of what really were the big issues of concern for those that showed up, not only today, but over the last several weeks have been voting. Is it still the economy? Do we see signs that something like abortion rights or the future of democracy also broke through? If it does, that's encouraging news for Democrats.
Yeah, it seems, though, as if that has been the theme throughout this campaign, right? Immigration, the economy, and gender rights. Those are the three issues that everybody's talking about.
Big
so we'll
three,
see if it bears out in that exit polling. All right, I don't keep.
All right, here we go. We're going to keep this thing moving. I had to bring that to you guys. The situation about the House and the Senate that's also being voted for at the same time, that's definitely need to be known. Who's on the run for it, things like that. Yes, this is very serious out here. This election is very much on the run and stuff, man. We got a lot to cover here, and we're going to cover it. Listen, look, I'm about to go here right now. We're going to check this out because this just in. You know what I'm saying? The chief of the U.S. Capitol Police, you know what I'm saying, just arrested a man. This happened like 3 hours ago. Okay, came into the Capitol with a firearm out here. Hold on, this is crazy out here. Listen, look, we're gonna dive off into this. Let's check this out right now.
At about 12:20 this afternoon, a white male entered the south entrance of the Capitol Visitor Center and approached the screening area. He was directed to put his coat and his backpack down for screening. He stood there for a few seconds, then put his stuff on the conveyor belt. As soon as his backpack and his jacket went into the screening area, U.S. Capitol police officers staffing that screening area saw what appeared to be something in the shape of a firearm. They also saw 2 bottles in the backpack. As the man was standing there, one of the officers noticed a faint odor of gasoline, and when they pulled the backpack off the conveyor belt, they noticed a much stronger scent of gasoline. At that point, the subject was detained. He was placed under arrest. We found a flare gun, a lighter, and a torch lighter in his jacket. There was also other articles in his backpack, and he is now in custody. And investigation. We located his vehicle. That was several blocks away. We now have the vehicle as well. And again, ongoing investigation.
Yo, this is crazy out here. This is crazy. But it is what it is, though. It is what it is, though, man. This is wild right here. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, this is what's going on. So yeah, we had some guy just run up to the Capitol today, firearm in hand. You know, listen, look, it's crazy out here. I also did a report, a report in my one of my other broadcasts about they was burning ballot boxes up in Seattle, in Washington, Portland area. So yeah, it's crazy out here, man. This is getting wild right here. And yeah, we're gonna keep this thing going here. And I got a couple other things that we're gonna get into. Hold on. Yeah. Let's go here now, you guys. Shout out to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Robert, I do see you. I will get to the messages and things like that. You know what I'm saying? Please comment, and yeah, I will be messaging. And at the same time, or two, at some point throughout this broadcast, I will be putting the link in the broadcast to where I will allow guests to come up and, state, who you're voting for, whether you're voting for, Kamala, or whether you're voting for Trump. I'm gonna allow a few guests to come up and state the reason why they're voting for them. State who they're voting for, and also the reason why they're voting for them. Of course, we're gonna keep it, short and sweet and things like that. And we're gonna keep it going. All right. So yeah, man, I got a few things here, and yeah, we're gonna keep this thing going. Hold on. Let's see. All right, we're gonna go to Tim Waltz and see what he had to say in his interview and things like that. Here we go.
Well, first of all, you felt the energy here in Jimmy's Diner. It's amazing what he's doing out here. But I just, we started in Philadelphia 90 days ago. The honor to be on this ticket, and we're here to do the last kind of campaign event. We got polls open now until 8. We got folks out there, but I think it's to take that message. The vice president's made it clear she wants to be a president for all Americans. She wants to focus on the middle class. She wants to reduce costs, make home ownership, and we're out here with folks who know what that means. And so it just felt really good. The energy in this room is electric, and we're feeling good going into tonight.
Talk a little bit about why it's important to come to this part of the country. Why is this region vital?
Yeah, and I think too, it's obviously battleground or whatever. Pennsylvania is important, but I think this looks like America. These folks in this room, there's a whole bunch of teachers in here, there's small business owners, there's artists, there's coaches. It just looks like America. And when you're out there listening to people, what they're concerned about, cost prices, they're concerned about healthcare, they're concerned about reproductive rights, they're concerned about the climate. When they tell you these things, coming to this part of the country, you really feel it. And I think the one thing we feel it is when we see manufacturing jobs coming back, when we see investments back in our communities, there's a vitality that comes out of that. And I think people are really optimistic when they hear the vice president talk about that new way forward. They're fatigued. They're tired of this division. And I think this part of the country just typifies that.
How do you feel?
I feel good. I'm honored to be on this. I feel lifted up by these people. And this was one where we kind of protect our kids, but we had my whole family here. And I said, Gwen, I, Hope, and Gus, we feel the love that are coming out of folks. And I think it's just how Americans view this. We feel like these folks see us as our neighbors. So thanks for asking. We feel pretty good, though.
Potentially, you are the next vice president of the United States of America.
Yeah, that's something, isn't it? So what an honor. And I said, I like this, as Kamala says it, 2 middle-class kids, one from Oakland, one from rural Nebraska. And I always say this, I never planned my life to run for office. I was past 40 before I ever did anything political. I had taught and been in the National Guard and worked in my community, but I think my life prepared me well. I really wear with a badge of honor when they said Jim Walz might be the poorest person to ever run for vice president.
Yeah, your life prepared you well, but you said that you learned all your political issues and political knowledge over there while you was over there in China or North Korea or wherever you was. Hey, listen, look, this is crazy.
Not poor, I'm middle class, and I think the middle class wants to get ahead, and I think that's for me that's kind of encouraging about this. That where in the world can you pick 2 middle class kids and be president and vice president? I think that's what we're going to get.
For the most part, most Americans have made their decision. Now it's time to get out and vote.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the importance of
two middle-class kids. We also know Kamala was not brought up middle class.
The American people have their voices heard.
Yeah, don't let them take your voice. This is what matters. There's folks that want to tell you it doesn't matter. They want to depress you. They want to make you cynical. Look, this race very well in Pennsylvania could be won by 1 or 2 votes per precinct. That's your vote. These things do happen all the time. And for me, it's that sense of what we can do together, why it matters to be in this. And I do think, too, there's a lot of people that might have thought they were decided. Look, this week gave a stark contrast. We saw darkness, we saw division, we saw a very hateful message starting in Madison Square Garden. And then you saw the vice president stand on the ellipse and say, I want to be a president for all of you. I want to bring Republicans into my cabinet. I want to listen and find solutions. And we have ended with a sense of joy, a sense of optimism, a sense that, look, we don't need to make America great again. This has always been a great country. What we need to do is solve issues to make the middle class stronger.
We've had some voting issues already in Pennsylvania, and the Trump campaign has said that they are, I believe, prepared to challenge the election results.
Well, of course they are. This started on January 6th and started before. That's what Donald Trump does. Look, we have the safest, most secure elections. I would tell people, look, it's going to take time. There's going to be a head for a while, and then votes come in. I was mentioning here, I was up last night at midnight. This race is tied 3-3. We just have another, 150 million votes to get in. But look, that's what they do. This is what separates America from the rest of the world. We trust the people, we do fair elections, and the winner and the loser shake hands and they work together. That tradition of nearly 250 years, the only person who's never done it was Donald Trump. And that's why I believe the Americans are going to let him get a second chance at doing that tonight when we win, that he can shake hands and acknowledge that the American people's will should be listened to.
What is your message to the American people as we walk through this?
We're in this together, folks. We're going to get a President, Kamala Harris, who's in it for all of us. The middle class is at the heart of this. When we build up the middle class, when we make you able to get access to health care, good paying jobs, when we do those things, America thrives. And the things that we shouldn't be involved with, your healthcare business is your business. Your bedroom and who you love is your business. What you read, those are your business. And I think you've got an opportunity here for us to be much more unified. And that's the path that I hope they take.
Where do we go from here with?
Okay, so listen, look. We heard what Tim had to say a little bit here. We're going to keep this thing moving, and I guarantee you I got more for you guys out there. You know what I'm saying? Y'all keep tuning in and everything. Hit that like, share, subscribe button. And comment on the joint. Listen, look, we're going to go here now, and this is going to go to the Puerto Rico situation that Tim was talking about to a degree. Listen, look, let's see what's going on here. Let's see what these people have to say.
Good morning, Steve, Brian, Ainsley, and Lawrence. Yes, welcome to North Carolina, one of the 7 big swing states today. I was just listening to Pete in Wisconsin, talking to young men about the way they're voting. Brock, by the way, is 16 years old, so he's not yet a voter, but he's telling me already some of the issues that are most important to you.
My major concern is for allowing boys in women's bathrooms. It really concerns me. We have regulations of men's and women's bathrooms for a reason, and that's for safety and protection of privacy for both boys and women's. And it's a really concern, and we need to take care of this.
You know, and Pete was mentioning, or one of his diners was mentioning, that the male cohort this is so important to so many of those young men. But it's not just young men. Katie, 21 years old, a voter, and you mentioned the same thing as Brock.
Yes, and as a woman who is passionate about women's sports specifically, I just don't believe in men competing in the same division as women. And, as a Christian as well, I want a president that supports those beliefs as well.
Right. So there you have it. That's some of the younger demographic here in the diner. But then we got everybody. By the way, who's voted already? If you early voted, raise your hand. Pretty much everybody. A few voted this morning, and a few who are traditionalists plan to vote this afternoon because right, Omar? It's what you do every year. So let me talk to Joanne real quick. So Joanne was saying she's a senior, fixed income. And did you not want me to say that you're a senior?
No, that's fine. I'm not going to lie. Like other people, like Kamala.
Whoa!
So what the French toast is there to think about?
Yeah. Woo-wee. Man, this is wild out here. This is wild. And I'm just bringing this to you guys. This is some of the temperament. This is how people are feeling out here. You know what I'm saying? I'm bringing the news to everybody. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter your background, whatever. I'm bringing the news to you right now. This is how people are feeling right here at the precipice of the moment, at the facts of what we're talking about at this voting situation. Here we go.
And you were saying that Ukraine's a big issue for you.
Yes. I hope when Trump gets in, he says and looks at where all our money is being spent. He should have a list. And if it's not a good one, then why give them the money? And I heard that a lot of that money went to some of the Ukraine people that moved out of the country, and they're paid their pensions.
And
so what about our pensions?
There you go. That's what you were saying. What about Americans? That's the theme of a campaign and a presidency. It's about America first. Let me introduce you to Tyler. Tyler, hold up your phone. We talked about this a little bit earlier. So what there is a picture of Rachel's Diner. Rachel right now is in Pennsylvania, and in the background of this picture is Tyler's mom. Your mom's in Pennsylvania?
Mom's in Pennsylvania there, right? You made a Superior Diner there.
Look at on the screen now, Tyler. It looks like Rachel's sitting with your mom right now. What do you want to say to your mom?
Mom, I love you. Wish I was home with you. I know I saw you a couple weeks ago. We cast our ballot, and this is a shout out to my sister. You know what to do. Go Trump.
So there you go, Rachel.
All right. Hey, Tyler, your mom's here. He says he loves you, and he voted. He came back to vote, and he says that you're going to vote, and you know what to do.
I do know what to do. Vote for Donald Trump.
A message for your son. Pardon me? A message for your son.
Go to work and have a great day, and I'll see you soon.
Love from mom.
And see, this is what's going on here. They've been actually out here, you know what I'm saying? The Democrats been so busy worried about, you know, getting the black votes and other things like this and Latino, whatever. But they're forgetting about the white bread situation of America. And these people right here are not finna go for all this crazy stuff that you know what I'm saying, the Democrats got going on. You know what I'm saying, with their crazy issues and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's not that people don't want people to live. It's not that people don't want other people to, you know, have a decent life as well. But it's the agendas and the way that people trying to move out here that's causing the problems. And it's causing the problems economically, and it's causing the problems for, you know what I'm saying, families and everything that actually makes a society move and makes the economy move.
Tyler, love from mom. Here, I'm here with two Puerto Rican Americans. They're Boricuas. Here we are with Lola. Lola, tell me about what, you know, there was a joke. A lot of people were concerned about the Latino vote, particularly the Puerto Rican vote here in Pennsylvania. After that, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, first of all, it was a joke paid by a paid comedian. And the Puerto Rican people are much more resilient than people give us credit. We're not easily offended, and I don't think it's going to make a difference at all.
Gloria, by the way, this is Gloria is Lola's mom. Do you think this might change the vote for Latinos here in Pennsylvania?
Not at all. It's not going to change it.
You're voting for Donald Trump. Tell me why.
Yes, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump because he's the right person to be in the White House.
All right. Right on. Okay, I want to.
So you got your hey, listen, look. Obviously, these people are not offended by the joke, even though the joke at the Trump rally, it did bomb. I'm gonna be honest with you, it did bomb. Okay. Yes. You know, that particular comedian, he didn't have his shit together that particular night with that particular joke. But you know what I'm saying? Yes, listen, look, people understand what's going on out here. We are actually worried about the damn economy and the money and the price of bread at the fucking grocery store more than a damn joke. And this is the thing right here that we need to keep understanding. You know what I'm saying? And we need to keep going with these factors right here. So yeah, I got more for you guys. And yeah, it's going down out here. And mad love to all you guys. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you all keep staying tuned and things like that. And yeah, man. Yeah. So okay, I want to go here right now. I just want to show you guys some things. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. Yeah, okay. So I did that already. I'm clearing off my board real quick. You know what I'm saying? I'm clearing out my board. And yeah. I'm clearing out my board, guys. So you know what I'm saying? Y'all hang in there with me. Things like that. All right. So I'm gonna show y'all this real quick. Just so y'all can kind of see what's going on in the background. You know what I'm saying? And
Got it. We will keep an eye
what's
out for
happening
more
here.
info, and we'll be back with you soon. Thank you all for being with us. At the top of the next hour, we will have more poll closings. Actually, the night's biggest round, 16 states plus
This
the
is
District of Columbia.
the
That's a
Harris
total of
campaign, Trump campaign.
171 electoral
This is up in New
votes,
York, stuff like
including
that. They're
19
just,
from
you know
that
what I'm saying,
battleground state
chilling
of
right now.
Pennsylvania.
You know, we're
We'll
not
leave
gonna
you
stay
right
here
now with
very
live
long.
pictures
So,
as
you
they
know what I'm
come
saying?
into
I
us
just want to
from
show you
New
guys
Hampshire
what
and
they
the
had
New
going
England.
on behind the scenes. We're gonna keep that going, but at the same time though, too. Yeah. So, all right, I got a few things here. Let's go here now. And let's see what the steel workers had to say. You know, yeah, it's crazy out here. Let's do this.
A third-generation steel worker, member.
Yeah, get down in the comments. Let me know out there. Get down in the comments. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Robert. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got to the comments yet. I'm going to get to the comments. Like I said, I'm going to also put the link in my chat to where I'm going to invite people up and they're going to, you know what I'm saying? So y'all can say, you know what I'm saying, who y'all want to vote for, the reason why y'all want to vote for them and things like that. So, you know, y'all keep, you know what I'm saying? Keep engaging. Real talk. Here we go.
Of the United Steelworkers Local 1557 in Clarendon, Pennsylvania, and one of President Trump's special guests tonight in Pittsburgh. He joined the former president on stage last month at a rally in southwestern Pennsylvania. Brian, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to talk with us. You know, I think one of the biggest questions here, we see your Steelworkers Union backing Harris, but how much do you and the other men that we'll see on stage tonight represent the rank and file of the Steelworkers Union in this election?
Yeah, the Democrats, our union did endorse Harris for president, but the rank and file workers, 75% of the workers support President Trump. And that's a lot of the unions around, blue collar worker unions, even the Teamsters, that they usually endorse Democrats. They didn't endorse the candidate. But their rank and file is mostly for President Trump.
Yeah. So you pay dues to the union, the leadership does their own thing, and then the rank and file workers are 75%, you say, of a very different mindset. So how does that play out? You know, do the workers do their own effort to try to get out the vote and try to outbalance what the leadership has done?
It's kind of hard because the international and the union, they want us to vote Democrat. They push for it. Yeah. That's why I try to get the message out there. I started the Steelworkers for Trump on social media, and it took off. And I got 2K members in less than 2 months since I started it. So I'm trying to get the word out. But like I said, a lot of them are tired of the Democrats because they promised stuff like the tariffs. No Democrat president ever put tariffs on steel to help the steel workers out. When President Trump was elected in 2016, he put tariffs on, and that kind of saved the steel industry.
Man, listen. You got this man out here telling y'all that no Democrat ever put tariffs on the steel industry and bringing the steel industry back. This is something vital that we as Americans need to covet for ourselves. I'm all about America being selfish again. I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious about that. America needs to be selfish again. Yes, we need to actually bring our own stuff back. We need our own things to manufacture and all this type of stuff. We need the rest of the world to work for us. Like I've said in other in my other broadcasts and things like that from time to time, you know, that we are the workhorses of the world. They make every damn thing and they ship everything over here and stuff like that. And you know, we buy all this stuff. We need to make them buy from us instead of us buying from them. Real talk.
So tell me about, you know, that clearly is one of the main reasons, right? It's policy and the impact on your jobs. What are you seeing as you know, spend time in your town and at work? Pennsylvania, by all accounts, is completely tied. At least that's what the pollsters tell us. What do you think is the reality?
I think if all the blue collar workers get out and the unions get out, and then President Trump will be elected president, because I think majority of them will vote for President Trump.
Brian, thank you so much for your time.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here.
So y'all heard that from one of the steel workers, and steel is a very vital thing that we need in order to, you know, keep America going, build our buildings, you know, skyscrapers, basically, cars, a lot of things we use steel for. And, you know, whether you like it or not, it's just the truth. A lot of things we use steel for. And this is the truth here. So, yeah, it is what it is at this point. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody. So, you know, yeah. All right. We're about to go here now. Let's see what's going on Twitter. All right.
So you would do anything for like all the illegals
I think
and
we
stuff.
have to be fair.
Guys, this is great. I think we found a new home for you guys.
What guys?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand what this is all about.
The immigration. They're gonna move into your house.
They are not.
What do you mean? You just said you wanted to support everyone though.
Okay. That I don't.
No, they're
Guys,
not
we
violent.
got a
They're
new
not
house.
violent. They're good. They're
Oh no,
like
hop
Smash.
it. Like just like you guys did before.
Thank you very much.
Can they stay for dinner? Wait.
Sorry.
Well, we have your signature. You guys got to drive back down south.
Back to Home Depot.
Yo. Hey. It's crazy, but it's the truth. It's crazy, but it's the truth. All right, so I got a situation. Hold on. I got a situation right here. We're not gonna do that one. That's a little bit too long. So hold on here.
What?
Hold on here. We're gonna go here and we're gonna see what's going on right here at the Arizona joint. All right.
Oh, you catch that vote?
Yeah, so just seeing what's been happening in the past 4 years, you know, I voted Democrat the past 4 years, and I'm really disappointed in the administration, how everything has been going. I was in the mortgage industry for quite some time, and that hurt us pretty bad. I lost my job because of it. Dealing with the recession and everything. And I know that everyone's saying we're looking for solutions from every party, right? But in actuality, the solutions they came up with were no solutions. It hurt us even more. Now you have to have a son with parents and, you know, daughter. All the families get together to be able to even afford a home or even afford a rent, you know.
So the economy is number one issue for you?
Absolutely. It impacts every one of us.
Did you vote for Biden in 2020?
I did. I'm sorry. I did. Yeah, I did. I was deceived, but I'm a walking example of how people can change their mind. You know, you just go with the evidence of, you know, what benefits you and your family.
Right. Hey. Shout out to that. Shout out to that. let's see here. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to all right. Let's see what's going on here. Let's see what these ladies have to say. All right. Hold on.
So we are here at Gas South at the arena here supporting Trump and his administration. We are excited. We are foundational Black Americans, American descendants of chattel slavery, and we are women who are supporting Trump.
Yes, we are. Yes. The rally was amazing. We are not supporting Kamala, and for many reasons. And first of all, we are totally against the illegal immigrants coming across the border using our tax dollars. And our ancestors worked for over 400 years
Absolutely.
as descendants of slaves. And we have elderly people here in our own communities, maybe 70, 80 years old, getting $23 worth of food stamps, $86 worth of food stamps. The undocumented workers never worked here a day in their life yet. They get more. They get housing, they get everything. No,
Right.
We got to take care of our people first.
First, we have seniors here after they receive their Social Security check and pay for their bills. They only have $200 to last them a whole month.
Exactly.
So we're not standing for it.
Exactly. And not to mention the girls competing against boys in sports.
We do not accept that, and we do not agree with it, and no one has asked us to vote on that.
Absolutely. And not to mention also the fact that Kamala is not speaking to anyone in the community. She just scripted. She doesn't go in the community. She has not done anything for the people in North Carolina, South Carolina.
Yeah, actually, we all voted for it. Everybody that voted for Democrat, we all voted for these things that they're putting in place and things like that, and have put in place. So yeah, okay, all right. I'm about to go here now.
It's my first time voting. Oh, you're a first time voter. Who?
Hold on, let's check this out. Here we go.
It's my first time voting. Oh, you're a first time voter. Who would you like to win? Trump. This bothers
Me, I am Puerto Rican, so I was like, wow, like I don't really like that, I don't know really. I really don't know, honestly.
So as a Puerto Rican, you're okay with that though?
No, definitely not. I just think, people, everyone has opinions. If they don't like Puerto Ricans, it hurts, of course. But at the end of the day, I'm okay with who I am. And at the end of the day, I want to be able to have a better life in the future.
It's my first time voting. Oh, you're first time.
All right, yeah, I'm down for that. You know what I'm saying? Yo, I definitely feel where she coming from. Let's keep going. All right, I got a few things for you guys right now. And the problem is here. The problem is here is that everybody want to sit here and try to act like Trump is just, against gay people and all this type of stuff. So we got a few things here that I'm finna show you guys. And we're gonna go here now. We're gonna
often feel the
hold on here. Hold on here. We're gonna check some things out. We're gonna find out something.
Frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if me and Trump won just the normal gay guy vote.
Oh,
because
sure.
again, they just wanted to be left the hell alone, and now you have all this crazy stuff on top of it.
Well, I definitely wouldn't call myself normal, but that is correct. Now, I got some things to say regarding Trump and the gays. Given the fact that so many people lie about Trump being anti-gay, I will often feel the need to correct that with his actual track record. Trump was the first person to enter office supporting gay marriage. He appointed the first openly gay cabinet official. He launched an initiative to decriminalize homosexuality in countries where it's illegal. Actually doing something to try to help the most oppressed gay people on planet Earth. He pledged to end HIV by the year 2030. He had anti-gay language removed from the RNC platform. Oh, and the AIDS prevention drugs that all you little sluts are taking, guess who offered access to them free of charge? Donald Trump. So those are the facts. However, can we just be real for a moment? I feel ridiculous even talking about this subject, given the fact that we've got, real problems. Have you seen the state of this country lately? We are watching as the Constitution is being lit ablaze, our First Amendment rights, our Second Amendment rights, all being chipped away at. There is war breaking out across the globe. There are illegal aliens flooding our wide open borders. We have a weaponized two-tiered justice system. We have seen the informal merger of big government with big corporation designed to consolidate wealth, consolidate power, and steer it away from the average American. We got communism knocking at the front door. We have a disappearing middle class. We have children being indoctrinated in public schools and grown adults being indoctrinated by what is basically state-run media. And I'm supposed to worry about gay shit? So I'm sorry to tell you gays, but it ain't all about you. Start thinking with the head on top of your shoulders and stop thinking with the head between your legs. The idea that gay shit is what anyone should be basing their vote on is insane. Look at the state of America. And I'm supposed to sit here and go, oh, but what about the gays? I don't give a shit. We got real problems. Grow up, you stupid sluts.
Yo!
So what the French toast is there to think about?
Hold on, because this is real out here now. This is real. And I got more. Hold on. I got more. And see, we want to sit around here. And of course, the Democrats have been pushing this agenda and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm finally glad that, you know what I'm saying, gay people are actually speaking out. I'm finally glad about this because they have a stake in society too. They have to eat. They have to pay rent. They have to do the things that everybody else do, that we all do. They have to pay bills too. And if the economy's fucked up, they don't have time to worry about certain issues, just like black people don't have time to worry about certain issues, Puerto Ricans, Haitian, whatever, you know what I'm saying, whites, blacks. We all have certain issues that we don't have time to worry about because the economy's messed up, and we can't worry about those issues until we fix the economy and we fix America in order for everybody to prosper and live good.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
It is what it is, though. It is what it is, though. Yeah, I got more right here. I got more. Hold on. And you know what I'm saying? We're going to keep getting into the election because it is what it is out here, people. It is what it is.
As a never Trumper last election.
Hold on. We're going to keep getting into it. You know what I'm saying? I got another cat here. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, though, he going to explain some things too. He's gay as well. So let's go here now and let's just see how much gay people actually hate Donald Trump. Let's see how much gay people actually hate Donald Trump. All right, we finna dive off into here we go.
As a never Trumper last election and a pretty staunch Democrat, gay Latino man, I just cast my vote for President Trump. Or as some of you guys would like to say, against my own best interest. And for a while there, I believed it. It's time that we have a president in office, once again, that is going to put America and American citizens first. Leading up to this election, things have been intense and pretty crazy, but it has been very eye-opening for me. I've pissed a lot of people off, but I've also gained a lot of supporters as well. Those supporters being people that I've been told my entire life hate me for who I am, simply for being a gay man, example, Republicans and MAGA supporters. And it's ironic that the loving and accepting community that have been feeding me those lies have now become some of the most hateful people towards me. I have opened my eyes and now realized how the mainstream media has drugged this man through the dirt and completely manipulated how people perceive him. Do I agree with everything that this man has said and or done throughout his life? Absolutely not. But what I do agree with is peace through strength, putting American citizens first, secure borders, ending these wars, making the U.S. more energy independent once again, and bringing jobs back to the United States of America, making everyday living more affordable again, whether it's buying a house, renting, putting gas in your car, or going to the grocery store. For those reasons and others that I did not mention, I am proudly supporting Donald Trump this election. The countdown begins, guys, and soon we will know the fate of this country for the next 4 years. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one.
Yo, so I guess that I guess there's, Republicans just hate gay people and stuff like that. And these people are trash because they're, into what they're into and things like that. And I mean, it boggles my mind out here. Listen, look, I don't care what you got going on. I'm for everybody add on to the tax base. Everybody needs jobs. Everybody needs housing. Everybody needs to eat, things like that. Listen, look, I don't want to pay taxes by my damn self. And I'm pretty sure you don't either. You know what I'm saying? And this is the thing right here. This is the thing. We have this this illusion that it's just this hatred like this for, what I'm saying, individuals like that. It's come on, man. Come on, man. And yeah, of course, the other side is always trying to, drum up this propaganda. All right, we finna go here now. Let's see what the Ling Ling had to say, about this situation. Hold on.
In your
Hold on. We finna go back here and we finna see what she had to say.
boys, tomorrow is election day, and us ladies need you to get off your ass and vote for Donald Trump. Apparently, men vote at a much lower rate than women. In fact, of the votes cast thus far, 53% have been women, while only 44% have been men. Moreover, the CEO of Atlas Intel, the most accurate pollster of 2020, says that if white males turn out for Donald Trump on election day, he would win Pennsylvania as well as potentially the rest of the Rust Belt states. This would make the difference between Donald Trump winning or losing the election. So, boys, don't be complacent. This is the most important election in history, and the fate of our democracy is literally in your hands. We need you on November 5th. Don't stay home. Go out and vote. Bring your brothers, bring your male friends, bring your dad, or make sure they have a plan to vote for Donald Trump. Tell all the men in your life that Western civilization is counting on them.
Now, I definitely agree with her. But listen, look. At the same time, though, too, while I agree with her, and y'all men need to get out there, y'all need to vote. The thing of this is that we actually what is being forgotten with this particular election, and what is being forgotten in society is that we actually live in a republic. I'm gonna state that again. We actually live in a republic. I pledge allegiance to the republic. I'm old school. So, I remember back in the day pledging allegiance in school. When you went to school that day as a child, we pledge allegiance to the flag. And that's how it used to go. So, yeah, we live in a republic, not a democracy. Okay? So, yeah, that's me on Twitter right here. You know what I'm saying? Showing it up. It is what it is. Join me on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? The links are on my page, things like that. It is what it is out here. All right. So, yeah, we're going to keep it going out here.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
Like I told y'all, I am going to, the link is in the chat. You know what I'm saying? If you want to come up and state who you want to vote for, the reasons why you want to vote for them. I don't care. You can want to vote for Kamala or Trump. If you want to come up and state who you want to vote for, it is what it is. The link is in the chat. You know what I'm saying? For real though. The link is in the chat. All right. So we are about to go here now. And things like that. You know what I'm saying? I definitely appreciate everybody. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, y'all, everybody that's been in and out, hit that like button, things like that. Show me some love. Hopefully, yeah. It is what it is. I brought up these aspects and things like that about the situations and stuff to where we can actually clearly see, what's going on. It is what it is out here, people. It is what it is. And it's time out for everybody sitting around here. And hold on. I think I got one more. I got one more that we need to watch. And it's very vital. This is Megyn Kelly. And yeah. Let's see what's going on out here, man.
25 years to recover from that mess. And I said it before, the one president I don't want to be under any circumstances is Herbert Hoover. And that was done by bad tax policy simultaneously with lifting all sorts of other things that made it impossible for people. A lot of mistakes were made. But it took 20 to 25 years to recover. And I don't want that happening. And that's going to happen with her. She doesn't have a clue. She doesn't have a clue. And, you know, I just mentioned a name, but a woman who I saw the other night on television just ripped some poor idiot apart. Megyn Kelly is here, and she's doing, come up here, Megyn. She ripped a guy apart.
Thank you. Good to see you. Hi, everybody. Hey, it's great to see you. Can you believe this guy? Can you believe the energy and the stamina on this guy and his hate? I'm ready to go to sleep over there. He's got another rally to go to till tonight. Let me tell you, first of all, one of the reasons why I wanted to come here, one of the many reasons I wanted to come here. When I launched my show 4 years ago, we had Mark Cuban on the program. You know, yeah. You may have seen he was in the news this week. And he started going on about how bad America's race history was and how ashamed he was of America. And that's why he was at all these protests. And he felt it was really important to stand up and speak out about human rights violations. And then it got awkward when I asked him about all the money he was taking from China. And then he dropped a bunch of F-bombs. And I thought, I really enjoy this feeling of proving Mark Cuban wrong. And so here I am at a Trump rally, a strong, intelligent woman to prove Mark Cuban wrong again. I won't take up much of your time, but I do want to tell you the main reasons I am voting for Donald Trump. Number one, immigration. He mentioned it. And people like Laken Riley. I'll be thinking about her tomorrow all day. 22 years old, killed in Georgia, a young nursing student by an illegal. I'll be thinking about Jocelyn Nungare, 12 years old, in Texas, murdered by 2 Venezuelan illegals. President Trump closed the border. Kamala Harris opened it by choice. It wasn't accidental. She said it would be humane. That's what she and her boss believed. Tell it to Laken Riley's family. There was nothing humane about it. He closed it. They opened it. It was an intentional choice, and there's no reason not to believe they won't do it again. The boys should not be in the girls' sports. The boys should not be in the girls' bathrooms. The boys should not be in the girls' locker rooms. Peyton McNabb, North Carolina sophomore in high school, slammed so hard in the face by a volleyball hit at her by a boy pretending to be a girl, she suffered traumatic brain injury and permanent paralysis. Kamala Harris looks at her and says, be kind, suck it up. And that's what's right. Why do our girls have to face brain damage in order to be kind to boys who want to invade their sports? And by the way, they are going into the women's prisons. She changed the law in California to make sure the taxpayers would pay for their sex change operations. She was not just following the law, she changed the law. President Trump will stop it. He got mocked by the left for saying he would be a protector of women. He will be a protector of women, and it's why I'm voting for him. He will close the border. He will keep the boys out of girls' sports and where they don't belong. And you know what else? One more thing. He will look out for our boys, too. Our forgotten boys and our forgotten men. Guys like you. Guys like these guys. who've got the calluses on their hands, who work for a living, with the beards and the tats, who maybe have a beer after work and don't want to be judged by people like Oprah and Beyonce, who will never have to face the consequences of her disastrous economic policies.
Yo, what do you say? Like Oprah. Yeah, Oprah had a lot to say. Hold on. Yeah, we're gonna talk about Oprah too. Because Oprah decided to get her badass up there, you know what I'm saying, and say something crazy too. All right, let's keep going.
These guys get it. He gets it. President Trump gets it. He will not look at our boys like they're second-class citizens. And ladies out there who want a bit of girl power in this election, let me tell you something. How can you win when the sons and the husbands and the brothers and the dads you love are losing? It's not a win. We care, young women and older, about the lives of our children, the safety of our children. And we need not get so obsessed with what happens when they're in the womb that we forget about taking care of them once we're here and they're loved. Last point, what I don't want, what I don't think you want, is the left's version of masculinity. You see that ad they did about Trump voters trying to encourage women to lie to their husbands so that they could vote for her instead of Trump? That's their version of what marriage looks like. An overbearing husband who bullies his wife into saying she voted one way as opposed to an honest, open relationship. Oh, wait, I'm talking about Kamala and Doug. Okay, sorry.
Ooh, hold on. Hold on. Oh, if y'all haven't heard, you know, the scandal out there is that Doug, you know, Kamala's, well, I almost said Kamala's wife. Stop it. I almost said Kamala's wife. You know, but Doug, you know, apparently, you know what I'm saying, the last chick he dated, he used to like to, you know what I'm saying, slap her around and, you know, and things like that. I mean, Jesus Christ, hold on. You know, but you know, he's the shadow of masculinity. You know, I mean, Jesus Christ, man, this is crazy. How are you the second husband? What does that mean? When actually, you know, when a male president gets in office and stuff like that, the wife is the first lady. So shouldn't you be the first husband? I would think that what is the second husband? I don't even know how they trying to even, you know, get this dynamic of letters and words together. It's ridiculous to me, you know. But yeah, though, like I said, you know what I'm saying, I got the link to, you know what I'm saying, my broadcast. You know, listen, look, I would love for somebody to come up and at the end of the day tonight and, you know, state who you're voting for and why. Listen, look, the link is up there. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, though, you know, stop being scared out there. Stop being scared. I don't know what's going on with you guys, but it is what it is tonight. It is what it is tonight.
Where was that story in the news? Where was that story? I don't remember a single media person, not one, who sat with him, asked him about the abuse allegations against him by a successful professional attorney who has great details, who has receipts, who has witnesses. No one even asked about it. I'm not into their version of toxic masculinity or new masculinity. I prefer the old version. Them, all of you, and I prefer a president who understands how to be strong and how to fight. I hope all of you do what I did last week. Vote Trump and get 10 friends to vote Trump too.
Shout out to Megan Kelly.
What
Oh,
the
God.
French toast is there to think about?
Yo, listen, look, man. Listen, look, man, it turns me on. It turns me on to see feminine women still exist out here. It turns me the hell on. She's got a beautiful dress on. She's covered up, things like that. She ain't got a bunch of tattoos all over the damn place, looking crazy and shit out here. Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is. Hey, listen, look, like I told y'all, man, I got the link in the channel. You know what I'm saying? Shit. One or two of y'all, man, get up here. Talk to your favorite broadcaster. You know what I'm saying? Alan Taylor, I'm in the joint with you. I'm in the joint with you. You know what I'm saying? Whether you vote for Kamala or whether you vote for Trump. You know what I'm saying? The link is right there. Get back there. Let me know what you about. Now, listen, look, don't come up there with no crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? Be prepared to actually talk, have your clothes on, because I know how y'all cats be out here. You know what I'm saying? Y'all stupid out here sometimes. I ain't talking to everybody. But, you know, if it don't apply, let it fly. All I'm saying is, though, yeah, man, it's crazy out here. It's crazy. It is crazy. All right, so looks like from what I'm seeing is, though, we got a lot of situations going on here and things like that. Hold on. Hold up. Wait. All right, let's see what's going on here with this situation and stuff like that. You know, okay, so you know, San Francisco, they still doing their thing. We got the Harris campaign, we got the Trump campaign, they still doing their thing. Okay. So yeah, we seeing what's going on there. It is what it is out there. All right, let's go here now. Let's check and see what's going on.
The same exit polls we're looking at. Improvement among black voters, particularly black men, who the Trump campaign has spent heavily for months and months and months to try to win over, even just a few percentage points, the kind of thing that could make a difference in a state decided by fewer than 12,000 votes 4 years ago. The other thing that I think has accrued to Trump's favor in Georgia is the resumption of unity among Georgia Republicans. Remember, there was a huge fallout with Brian Kemp, the popular Republican governor there after 2020. Trump and Kemp made amends, although they rarely appeared together on the campaign trail. The two singing from the same hymnal in the race's closing weeks, along with a lot of these other Trump candidates, could be helpful to Trump in that state.
All right, Garrett, we have a call to make. This is North Carolina, the governor's race there. Josh Stein, the Democrat, takes the race there. He faced off against the Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, a very controversial candidate. And the polls have shown, well, we talked about ticket splitting, where perhaps the vote for the presidency might be different than the vote down ballot. This perhaps will be an indication of that. Josh Stein, the winner of the governor's race in North Carolina. Just a brief.
Okay, you know, shout out to that real quick. You know, we just checking in, things like that. I gotta, you know what I'm saying? Let's see what Oprah had to say. Because yeah, we all know that this situation is crazy. So yeah, let's see what Oprah had to say. Because yeah, Oprah had something to say.
Philadelphia, I am here with 10 first-time voters for Philadelphia. So Phoenix, I hear you did research before voting.
I did. It was really important to me that, like, the policies that Kamala Harris has proposed for women's reproductive rights and education equality are what led me to cast my ballot for her.
Fantastic. And Eddie, I heard you stood in line because?
Because honestly, it was an honor as an African American to exercise my right to vote, which my ancestors fought so hard for. And as a professor.
Now, listen, look. I can't deny that young man on what he just said with that particular statement. You know what I'm saying? Our ancestors in the black community, they did do their due diligence to make sure that we actually had the right to vote in this, you know, in America. You know, basically it is the truth. I can't deny what he just said with that little tidbit. You know, yeah, it's just the truth. So, let's see what else he had to say.
Professional soccer player for the Philadelphia Union. I know that God, He gave me the opportunity to be a leader in this platform to encourage my peers and all of you out here to stand for what's right. Go Kamala.
And Sophia, you haven't voted yet, but you're getting up at what time tomorrow to go vote?
7 a.m.
7 a.m. when it's open. Okay.
And my family's from Puerto Rico, so voting.
Puerto Rico!
So voting this election just means so much to me, and I plan to become a future OBGYN, and I'm so excited to vote for Kamala Harris to ensure my future patients' freedom.
That's fantastic. We need more female OBGYNs. And so all of you are voting tomorrow morning, getting up early, voting tomorrow morning. Thank you for exercising your freedom of expression and your power as citizens of this country. How many first-time voters? Raise your hand, first-time voters. Beautiful to see you. Thank you all for coming here tonight and representing all the people who will be voting tomorrow. Those of you who have not voted, thank you so much. On January 20th, 1961, President John F. Kennedy issued a challenge. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Well,
Okay, then, Oprah. So if that's the case, then real talk, we all remember back in the day when you sat down with Donald Trump, and Donald Trump was actually, enlightened to have you on board with his vice presidency. I know a lot of y'all don't understand that. Look it up. It's true. It's true. And so now you're at this point, and Donald's baffled. He's baffled of the reason why you turned your back upon him. Hey, wait. All right, let's keep going.
I'm here to tell you that what you can do for your country, what you can do for democracy here, and what you can do for the spirit of John Lewis and all the others who dared to walk across that bridge in Selma and fight for justice for us all. What you can do for every pregnant young woman who has died because she was not eligible to receive the emergency medical care she desperately needed because of an abortion ban. What you can do for yourself and what you can do for everyone and everything you cherish is vote. And if you are watching or hearing me right now and you haven't already, you have got to vote. And listen, I know that some of you are feeling burnt out and bruised and maybe inconsequential. Nothing could be further from the truth. Every single vote, every one is going to matter. That's why I've come to Philadelphia tonight. And yesterday I was all the way across the country, and I was hiking on a Sunday afternoon, and I met a woman named Angela who told me that she was going to sit this one out. Now, I know she was immediately sorry she told me that, because I would not let up. So I said, sit this one out. We don't get to sit this one out. If we don't show up tomorrow, it is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again. And let me be very clear. If you do not make sure that the people in your life can get to the polls, that is a mistake. Deciding not to decide, that is most definitely a vote to let other people control your future. Now, we all know what we're voting against. So I want to end by reminding you about a few things that we're voting for. We are voting.
Okay, so that is a situation to let other people control your future. So either way it goes, whatever party, isn't that controlling everybody's future? I mean, isn't the reason why we elect presidents and congressmen and senators and all these individuals, the legislatures, isn't the reason why we elect these people is to put them in place in order to be able to make the right decisions to run the country, which actually controls the people within the country and makes the decisions that's what's best for our country. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I mean, Jesus Christ. But it seems like the control that Oprah and the trope that she's on now is controlling something. And at the end of the day, though, it's not going to be good for, what I'm saying, both, men, women, and children of this society.
To defend and protect the Constitution of the United States.
Oh, the Constitution. Now you want to bring up the Constitution. Okay, Oprah. Okay, Oprah. You know what I'm saying? You really don't want me, Oprah. You really don't want me to dig up a few things. Because at the end of the day, though, Oprah, I'm closer to I'm not gonna give away where I'm at. But listen, look, I know where Oprah's from. And yes, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay. All right, Oprah.
We are voting for values. We are voting for values and integrity. We are voting for the right to choose what happens to our own bodies. We are voting to save ourselves from this precipice of danger where we now stand. All the anxiety and the fear you're feeling that because you sense the danger and you change that with your vote. We are voting for healing over hate. Now, I believe in this promise of America. America has been the greatest country in the world for me. I believe that if you and I and the voters you see on this stage show up for our country tomorrow, if we answer that call that President Kennedy made more than 6 decades ago, then we have the power to choose.
I wish you, girl, listen, look, Oprah, stop talking about President Kennedy because he ain't going to stand. President Kennedy wouldn't have stood for none of this shit you talking about right now. None of the shit y'all standing for right now in the Democratic Party. Let's go here now. I'm fired up.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
No. You want to keep reaching back to Kennedy? Okay, Kennedy didn't stand for none of this crap that the Democratic Party got going on now. Why do you think that Kennedy's ancestor has negated the Democratic Party? John F. Kennedy Jr. has renounced his Democratic Party. He's joined the Republican Party. And she still, see, this is how we need to pay attention to this. What she just said, she's reaching back to John F. Kennedy. Robert Kennedy's son has denounced the Democratic Party. He's joined the Republican Party. Listen, look, they're not standing for nothing that the Democratic Party used to stand for. None of that. She's just throwing these old tropes out here where, you know what I'm saying, the older people will still have this image of what John F. Kennedy used to, you know what I'm saying, stand for and stuff like that. But the Democratic Party don't stand for that no more. They're a whole different type of demeanor. They're a whole different type of people. They're not that anymore. Jesus, man.
Choose a leader who will see us. She sees us, and she will do her mighty best to serve all of us. I believe we can do that, and I know she can do that. Yes, she can. Yes, she can. Yes, she can. And to say it and sing it and drive that message home, put your hands together for Will I Am.
This is crazy. Hey, Oprah. Hey, Oprah. Man, hey, listen, look, baby. You know, it's time for you to go sit your old decrepit ass down. Like, you know, you and your varicose veins. You know, shit. This is crazy. This is crazy. I can't believe it. But I can believe it at the same time though, too. Because yeah, I know how things are going. And she had the nerve to bring up John F. Kennedy. She had the nerve to bring up John F. Kennedy, man. She had the nerve to bring up John F. Kennedy. This is sad. This is sad. Okay. So I got a couple of more things that we're gonna get into. Hold on here. Yeah. And we're gonna keep this thing going. Cause yeah, we got a lot to figure out here. We got a lot to figure out. Like I told you, the link is down there. I don't see nobody getting in the back room. So you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, though, the link is there. The link is there if you want to come up and state, you know what I'm saying, who you voting for, you know what I'm saying, why you voting for them. The link is there. It's right there. You know what I'm saying? You're more than welcome to come up. You know what I'm saying? Just be decent, be camera ready. You know what I'm saying? Don't be around no bullshit. I don't have time for it. So, you know what I'm saying? Right here on the Bottom Line News. It is what it is, people. So, yeah. It is what it is. All right. So, yeah, we, you know, hold on. I'm gathering some things and stuff like that. So, you know. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah. It's cool out there, man. Y'all get down in the comments. Talk to me, man. Talk to me. Talk to me. Hail Mary. All right. I got a couple of things that we're gonna get into because yeah, we're about that life. And yeah. Hold on. Hold on. I got a couple of lives that we're gonna get into. And yeah, man. I got a couple of lives that we're gonna get into. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna check in on a couple of lives here and things like that from the Angry Man. And we're also gonna check in on a live with Coach Greg Adams. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to both them gentlemen.
And what the French toast is there to think about?
That is what it is. So yeah, I'm gonna check in a few things, man. You know what I'm saying? Out here on the Bottom Line. All right. Let's see. Make sure I got my shit together here. Make sure I got my shit together. Make sure I got my shit together. Yeah. All right. So let's go here now. Check out a few things. We're gonna go here first, and then we're gonna see the reaction to what Trump said about Oprah. Here we go.
Well, I think it's ridiculous. You know, Oprah, I was on her last show or one of her last shows, and they picked the biggest people and all of that and made a big deal. And I'm disappointed. I think Oprah's become a major divider in our country. And I think, frankly, she should be ashamed of herself. And you know who else should be ashamed? Fox. Because I've seen Oprah on Fox about 50 times making the same statement. And I think it's a disgrace what Fox does, because everyone thinks Fox is so pro-Trump. They're not pro-Trump at all. They've put Oprah on all morning long. That's all I see is Oprah. And, you know, I do Oprah very well. She's been in Mar-a-Lago many times. Roger King had his funeral. That's the head of King World, which was Oprah's mentor. And Oprah chose the location. She said, Mar-a-Lago is the most beautiful place. Would it be possible to have Roger's funeral at Mar-a-Lago in the ballroom? We did it. The only time I've ever had a funeral there. And I think Oprah should be ashamed of herself to say that. She should be ashamed. She knows me. She wanted to run with me as the vice president. She was going to be the vice president. She wrote me a letter. It's in the book. And now she goes to make statements like that. She's a divider. And Barack Hussein Obama is a divider, too.
Yo.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
Ooh, it's getting crucial out here. It's getting crucial out here. Trump calling out everybody. Man, what is going on? What is going on? Fake news. Fake fucking news. Man, stop it. Oh my goodness, man. Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is wild out here. This is wild. This is wild. All right. So, you know what I'm saying? Listen, look. You know, I invited everybody, you know what I'm saying? Let's see. I got 3 people watching. You know what I'm saying? Where y'all at? Show me some love. You know, real talk. Somebody get in the background. Let me know where y'all at. Let me know where y'all at. You know what I'm saying? I invited. Let me know if the link is good. Get down in the comments. Let me know if the link is good. Seriously. Let me know if the link is good. Because this is crazy. This election is wide open. All right. So yeah, we're gonna chime in. We're gonna check in and see. Hold on. Well, I want to go down. All right. We're gonna check in and see what's going on here.
This is a rapidly growing county in the state of Georgia. It's also incredibly diverse. It leans blue, but back in 2020, Donald Trump carried about 40% of the vote in Gwinnett County. And ultimately, what Republicans in the Trump campaign were looking.
Okay, so obviously they're talking about Georgia right now. Let's see. So obviously, I'm just gonna go on facts. Georgia right now, for what they said, Georgia 55.4%, 44.0%. You know what I'm saying? Let's see, New Hampshire. Okay, so Kamala's leading in New Hampshire, and Trump is at 45% in New Hampshire. Okay, New Jersey, Harris is leading in New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? 55%, 43.6%. You know what I'm saying? Okay. But let's see where we going. North Carolina, Harris 49, Trump 49, Harris by 4, Trump by 3. What the red look like is leaning, you know what I'm saying? Over in the corner here, we got 30 versus 105. Let's see what's going on.
For the Republicans and Trump, did they nudge up what they did in 2020 a little better this year, enough to possibly chip away at Harris's margins and then maybe take the state along with keeping Republican strongholds. And for Harris and Democrats, were they able to reach out to people they described as likely Harris voters who were hard to reach, people who would probably vote Democrat, but maybe haven't voted in past elections. The local county Democrats, they told us they spent a lot of time trying to reach those voters.
Okay, so Trump leading in Ohio, sorry. Pennsylvania seems like Harris is leading in Pennsylvania. Okay. See, Rhode Island seems like Harris is leading in Rhode Island. You know what I'm saying? And this is ABC News, okay? This is ABC. So, you know what I'm saying? That's what ABC is saying. Hold on.
Death threats, face severe hardship in their lives because of those election fraud lies from former President Trump. So these election workers, man, are they doing a civic duty
Oh my
for
gosh.
everybody?
My favorite part of voting is when I walk in and see the smiley faces. They've got this great task in front of them, and it's
Well,
It's true.
absolutely.
Hug an election worker if
Yes.
they consent.
Yeah.
And it's part of the
Thank you.
story of tonight, though, and tomorrow morning, because they've brought on more election workers in all of these states to make sure that they can count more quickly. I do think Ellison's report was fascinating. Gwinnett County.
Okay. So yeah, we about to move right here. Let's see what's going on here. Let's check out Coach Greg Adams and see what he's got going on.
He has our respect and trust. I'm going to keep up the good fight. You know they coming after me, man. You know they coming after me. Leo K, I appreciate all you do, CGA. Shout out to you. Thanks for covering this. And yes, Justin Trudeau is, in fact, female. All right, that's according to him. Leo K said it. All right, M Competition. They told us our social security numbers were hacked a few months ago. Don't be surprised if Kamala comes through. Who would be surprised? I mean, yes. I mean, judging for what I saw in the last election, anything goes when it comes to hoes right here, man, because anything goes. They know what to do. The real 80 Abel says we got the Capitol invaders versus the neighborhood fire starters. All right, that's a good one right there. It's gonna be bricks, Molotov cocktails, and Antifa. They're ready to go, man. Harem King, hey coach, with the 19th Amendment, was it a bad idea? All right now, you answer that.
You big dummy.
Yeah, right now, whoever thought that was a good idea.
You big dummy.
This election is going to prove whether it was a good idea and who it was a good idea for or a bad idea. But we certainly are living in a time where that is coming back to haunt us bigly. And Fight Mouth is in the building. Shout out to you for a rolling on the floor super sticker. Rusted Junk, hey, CGA, thanks for doing this election stream and all the hard work that you do. Shout out to you and the coach gang. He says, please give the Democrat pro-blacks the price is wrong and the toilet. Okay, let's give them the toilet.
All right, so okay, you know what I'm saying? The coach out there giving everybody the toilet. Shout out to the coach. Shout out to the coach. Hey, one of y'all get up here. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Be honest with you, man. You know, the link there. I already said what the biz is. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, you know what I'm saying, what's going on with y'all cats out there. You know, maybe y'all scared to talk. Who knows? It is what it is, though. You know what I'm saying? All right. I want to check this out real quick. Let's go here now. Let's see what's going on. This is Fox. Okay, let's see. You see the numbers? This is what Fox is saying. Okay. 72, 111. This is what Fox is saying. Things like that. Who knows? All right. We still in the game. That's what Fox is saying. All right. Let's see what Angry Man got going on. All right.
Over again. How many sit-down interviews did he give with mainstream social media influencers or mainstream individuals like Joe Rogan, like the Nelk Boys? He just continues because he's a real guy. He's a real man. And the fact that we're even this close, it just still baffles me. John, Bianca, it baffles me that we are looking at a race between a woman that was selected. She didn't win a nomination. Nobody voted for her. And yet she's somehow the champion of democracy going up against a former president of the United States that, as Rick just shared, is packing stadium after stadium after stadium. What we're truly seeing, I believe, in my opinion, is whether or not the elites can pull off this psyop on the American people, lie like they do on legacy media, get the people to believe what the New York Times is saying, all the WAPO, all the journalists that are completely hell-bent on calling President Trump Hitler, and then see if the individual that they've installed to run for president on behalf of the Democrat Party, see if enough people out there will actually throw out the fact that she didn't go through a nomination process.
How the hell are they calling Illinois? What the fuck?
You know, it is. This is where we're at. Yet this is exactly where we're at.
It is, but in the truncated
With
election
9%
season that we saw them
reporting.
swap out Joe Biden, they kicked him out. It was a real eye opener, I think, for a lot of Americans, David, to the fact that yes, they covered for him legacy media, and then they put her in. Obviously, now trying to sell her as the candidate, as you said, going on softball interviews, never doing any press conferences, not accessible. Even yesterday, closing arguments, same speech every time, only about 9 minutes.
Yeah, there was one pundit, a surrogate for Kamala Harris today, was talking about her winning, and instead of saying winning the White House, they talked about installing her in the White House, maybe a Freudian slip. But it does, I mean, I think it does speak to there was never a moment for Kamala Harris in the campaign trail when you think about a Bill Clinton, I feel your pain kind of moment. She never broke through. She never had the opportunity, or she had the opportunity, but she never capitalized on the opportunity to really have that real moment with voters, and we'll see if that affects her tonight.
Yeah, I think we will. You know what? I hope the American people. I hope the American people see that we've got the smartest man, seemingly smartest, wealthiest, richest man in the world, Elon Musk, landing rocket ships, doing something that's never been done in the history of mankind before. Vivek Ramaswamy. We've got Tulsi Gabbard that left the Democrat Party. We've got RFK Jr. that was actually running for president himself. That's very presidential. Along with J.D. Vance, we've got and I'm hearing Rand Paul as well. They're saying, hey, let's bring in these individuals. This is a top tier team of people that are going up against Beyonce and Oprah and Cardi B.
Well, certainly
And
not
people that are
Oprah.
booty shaking and talking about vulgar stuff. It's like
Certainly not career
add him and all the other
politicians and
elites out there that are.
All right.
The Diddy list goes on and on.
All right, David Harris Jr., we will, of course, check back in with you as the night progresses here. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Now we're going to check back in with John Huddy, who is at one of the hottest tickets in town, and that is the watch party over in West Palm Beach at the Convention Center. We've been looking at some of the live pictures. They're really filling up inside that room, John.
Shout out to QD Exec. He said if Trump wins, a debt is owed to content creators like you and others who gave the people the truth. Mainstream media was in cahoots with the Dems.
And
the feeling that the one word that I keep hearing is nervous. People are nervous. They're nervous. They are excited. They feel that Trump is going to win. They're seeing the results coming in, even here in Florida. Basically, Trump winning the state, projected to win the state at this point. Even Miami-Dade County, by the way, John and Bianca, and I don't know if you guys have talked about this, but Trump won Miami-Dade County, which is a pretty big deal because Miami-Dade County, Broward County, Palm Beach counties have traditionally gone blue. That is up until really we started seeing a shift back in 2020. And then in 2022, during the midterm elections, Governor DeSantis did very, very well down here in South.
How is it possible people are voting for this woman? This is crazy.
Why is that a big deal? Why is that of an interest? Because of the huge Hispanic Latino vote and the possibility that that could be a gauge and certainly something to look at, nationally as well with the Hispanic Latino voters. As I'm looking at the numbers here, it's very, very close in Palm Beach County, really neck and neck with about 93% of the votes coming in. Broward County, it looks like Harris is taking Broward County. I thought for a minute ago that Trump was taking Broward County too, and my eyes almost jumped out of my head. But it looks like
Please take care of yourself and each other.
Welcome back. It's election night in America, and we're just getting started. Almost 9 o'clock here in the East. We're going to have a bunch of poll closings, 3 big battlegrounds that will close. They are make or break races on the road to 270. We're talking about the presidential race a lot for good reason. As I turn to Kristen Walker and Hallie Jackson, there is also hanging in the balance tonight the balance of power. Who controls Congress? Who controls the Senate? Who controls the House? And we've got some results there.
That's right. And Republicans need 2 seats to win control of the Senate. So far, they have 1 pickup. So let's go to the board. We'll show you where things stand right now. In West Virginia, have already reported Jim Justice has won this seat after Senator Joe Manchin, who was a Democrat, who then switched to an independent, announced he was not running for re-election. This is expected.
Hold on,
It is
guys.
the first that the big focus of the race, but it was not enough to get her over the finish line. We're watching this very closely. The Senate race in Ohio, too early to call. Senator Sherrod Brown looking for a 4th term against former car dealer, Trump-backed businessman Bernie Moreno. So we'll watch that closely. Pennsylvania, another big battleground. Senator Bob Casey with 67% of the vote. Dave McCormick with 30.4% of the vote. Too early to call with just 13% in. Let's take a look at the big picture here. Again, Republicans have now picked up 1 seat for the Senate at this hour, 42 to 33. We'll continue to watch this
Very quickly, Hallie, taking a step back, the Republicans need 2 seats, and this is a map that is very difficult for Democrats to hold on to their Senate races. They're on defense in a lot of these states.
Yeah, and the reason for that is likely Montana. This is the other pickup that Republicans feel very confident about. They think they'll be able to get. I will tell you that Ohio Senate race being too early to call is interesting. I talked with one Senate Republican source who said, they would have loved to see that call an hour ago, right? They would have loved to have had that in the bag, these 2 seat pickups earlier in the night, Savannah. But we'll wait and see how this one goes.
Okay, we are just coming up the top of the hour. We're going to have some major battleground poll closings coming up. And we continue to come,
and Wisconsin, Arizona, all coming up. So this is the drama beginning to clearly build right now. The votes are being counted. And again, we'll get those closings here very shortly. Let's check back into the presidential race on the road to 270. All right. right, it is 8:51 in the East, and here is where we stand right now on the road to 270. And it has been a night of big surprises so far, with more to come. We're now just minutes away from additional closings.
Yeah, we are, and we see that map starting to fill out, so we will watch for those next poll closings. It's in all corners of the country now, almost at 9 o'clock in the East Coast, and they're some of the biggest states to close yet.
At the top of the hour, a major round of poll closings with the most battleground states of the entire night.
15 states and 163 electoral college votes up for grabs, including 3 critical swing states.
Will Vice President Kamala Harris hold on to the blue wall that cuts through Wisconsin?
Good evening, Wisconsin!
And Michigan?
Michigan, we are not going back!
Or will former President Trump break through like he did in 2016?
We are going to win Wisconsin.
Plus, the first Western battleground, Arizona, moments away from closing.
A very big hello, Arizona. We love you, Arizona.
Arizona, we need to fight this battle on every front.
We are standing by for our first vote count in from these make-or-break states as our decision desk gets ready to make new calls on the road to 270.
Many votes to be counted, battlegrounds all coming in. Michigan has 15 electoral votes up for grabs, a key state, and Jesse Kirsch in Detroit for us today. Jesse, the polls are just about to close, moments away. What do you expect? What are you hearing?
Yeah, so Savannah, statewide, they close at 9 p.m. Eastern, but here in Detroit, in the East Coast time zone, the polls have been closed for almost an hour. You can see this ballot drop box is sealed off here. However, despite all of that, we're going to move down the block here. This is the city elections office. And what we've got going on here is people who have been in line well past when the polls officially closed to continue registering to vote. And inside, it appears we do still have some people in that line. We had people telling us they'd waited in line. Some people in that line. We had people telling us they'd waited in line for around 4 hours. One young woman told us that she almost got out of line because of that duration, dealing with logistics as well as just waiting to be able to register to vote, but was ultimately able to do so. Someone else told us that they got out of line because of the wait. If people got in line by 8 p.m. Eastern time and they closed the doors here at that time, people were going to be allowed to go through the registration process, and it seems people are still going through that at this hour. This is a traditional Democratic stronghold, the city of Detroit. However, when we've spoken to GOP operatives in the state, they tell us that they see Vice President Harris's base as, quote, crumbling because of various headwinds. However, there are other potential headwinds that could send traditionally Republican voters toward the vice president. We will have a clearer answer as those results start coming in at 9 p.m. Eastern. Savannah, back to you.
And we'll get a better idea about turnout, too, which is all important for the Harris campaign in Detroit and also those collar counties. Well, we want to switch over. Let's go to Arizona, the Mountain West. Polls closed. Gotti Schwartz, they're outside a polling place. Have you seen a lot of crowds?
Yeah, polls close in about 6 minutes here. This is the end of the line, and this is about a 60 to 70 minute wait here. So you got the people that are at the end of the line right now, probably about 300 to 400 people in front of them. You're noticing a lot of MAGA hats here talking about the gender divide. Gender divide is very much in play here at Arizona State University, and there's been so much talk about low propensity voters. One of the things that we've been noticing here and talking to students about is the involvement of fraternities. Normally, fraternities, they may not be organizing and may not be turning out to vote as much as you'd expect. But here at the ASU campus, it does seem like the fraternities have been involved in turning out the vote. And those that we've been talking to say that they are turning out for former President Donald Trump. We've also talked to a lot of other students that have been coming out for policy issues. There are several props. The issue of abortion is extremely important in turning out the vote. Immigration is also important. But I got to say, just eavesdropping what people have been talking about in line, it's been surprising how often the topic of the Joe Rogan podcast keeps coming up. We've talked to several students now who say that they listened to that Joe Rogan podcast with the former president, and that was the deciding factor for them. And they've also said that if the Kamala Harris, the vice president of the United States, would have appeared on that podcast, they may have had their vote skewed. It's really interesting because, you know, some people are talking talking about policy. Others are talking more about kind of like vibes. Well, I like the vibe of Trump, or I like the vibe of Kamala Harris, but it's not so policy specific. But that's just some of what we've seen. We're almost to the end of the line. We just wrap around this corner. But again, right now we're in Maricopa County. This is a county with 2 point something million voters. ASU has 74,000 students here, most of them voting age. So what we see here at Arizona is going to be very important in this election. Back to you guys.
All right, Gotti, thank you so much. Abortion on the ballot in Arizona, also Florida. Lester, I know you got a key call here.
Yeah, we do have a call here in the state of Florida that abortion, that would restore the constitutional right to an abortion there, but it had a 60% threshold. It will not clear it. So amendment for right to abortion will go down in defeat. 86% of the vote in there. Let's
This is super interesting. I'll just drop in here to say this. Okay, it was yes to protect in Florida, but you are seeing it needed a 60% threshold, as you said, Lester. This would be the first ballot initiative that we've seen anywhere in the country since the overturning of Roe versus Wade that has failed. However,
but it had a higher vote.
The other ballot initiatives were not this high of a threshold here. And I see you want to jump in.
No, it's just the same number, right? It was 57, 58 in Ohio, 57,
right.
58 in Kansas. I mean, I think we know what the number is. Ironically, I've talked to some Florida Republicans who secretly had hoped this would pass, because now Florida elected officials in 2026, which is their big election year, they will have to face the voters on a 6-week ban. And then suddenly that will sort of upend just the state's politics.
Yeah.
But
Ron
there's clearly,
DeSantis actively campaigned against this amendment which is
and he used the government power. It's going to create an interesting, there's going to be a fascinating, if the Democratic Party ever wants to have a chance in Florida again, they're going to get an opportunity, ironically, because this thing went down tonight.
Think about how complicated this was for former President Trump. I asked him about this. He said it went too far. And then he was asked about it repeatedly throughout the course of this campaign. Well, how are you going to vote on this? And he was shifting his positions in the weeks leading up to this very vote. So it sort of underscores the point that Chuck's making. This is a very complicated
This issue has Republicans in knots and Donald Trump in knots, and now it lives to see another day in Florida.
And this is why the vice president and her team have been pushing on this issue. It is on the ballot as well in Arizona and Nevada. Trump orbit folks that I'm talking to think that there is a likelihood of perhaps ticket splitters in those states, people who will back these abortion ballot initiatives, but who will also back former President Trump. But you have seen the vice president hammer this in the state of Georgia. She went to the state of Texas, which nobody really thinks is going to flip blue on the presidential race, but she wanted to use it as a stage to highlight that state's controversial restrictive abortion law. She did it in Georgia with Amber Thurman, and in Florida, she talks about it as a place that she is concerned about.
We don't have a ton of time because we're coming up on a poll closing, but in Iowa, whose polls are going to close, there was a late election poll. Iowa just had a very restrictive abortion ban passed. And this shock poll on the eve of the election had Kamala Harris carrying a red state. So it's just a very potent issue.
Not to overread into it, but it is an indicator perhaps. And the pollster there, Gold Standard pollster, thought perhaps the abortion issue was motivating these older white women, right? A demographic we've been watching tonight.
And Chuck, well, let's go to the election for a minute. We'll move right here as we get some more poll closings here. We can give a few more characterizations. In just 3 seconds, all of these states will see their polls closed, and we'll begin counting the votes. Here is state of Texas. We were just talking about Donald Trump will win in the state of Texas when all the votes are counted. NBC News projects that Donald Trump will also win in North Dakota tonight. South Dakota, same story. That will also go into the Donald Trump column this evening. We move to the state of Wyoming. In 3 electoral votes at stake, Donald Trump, the projected winner in Wyoming. Here's the map. The road to 270 now getting interesting. 154 for Donald Trump, 30 for Kamala Harris.
All right, let's go to the uncalled races just from those 9 o'clock poll closings, including New York, Colorado, Minnesota. So we still await results there. But let's go to Michigan. That's the biggie at this hour. Polls closing in Michigan, and it is, wait for it, too early to call. We will be waiting for it perhaps into the wee hours tonight. Arizona also too early to call. 7 o'clock in the Mountain West, 9 o'clock on the East Coast. Polls just closed there. Let's go to Wisconsin, the other of the blue wall states, along with Michigan and Pennsylvania, too early to call. And speaking of Pennsylvania, too early to call. Starting to see more vote come in, but we could be waiting a bit for that. And same with North Carolina. They're
Are you
counting
kidding
more
me?
quickly, but it's still too early for us to make a projection. And in Georgia, it's not too early, it's just too close. We are starting to see the vote come in. We've got 66% counted right now. And yet, despite the margin that you see there, we project not only what the margin is right now, but where we expect the vote to come in, whether it's coming from a Republican stronghold or a Democratic stronghold. So when you see that disparity and then you see us say it's too close to call, there's a method to that madness, Tom, and you've got Georgia up there.
And I'm going to explain the method to the madness, right? The difference right now, 220,000 votes. Trump on top with 66% of the vote in. But Republicans, it can't even get close to celebrating just yet. These sort of UFO objects we have circling Georgia right now, this is the remaining vote. And the bigger that bubble, that means the more vote that is out. And the more vote that is out right now is in the Atlanta metro region. Remember, I told you guys earlier that about 50% of the vote is going to come from this area right here. The election is essentially won or lost in the Atlanta metro region because the margins are so close. Every vote matters, but because the margins are so close, Trump runs up that rural vote. The Democrats run up the urban vote. They run up the suburban counties around Atlanta as well. Let's take a look. Let's see how Atlanta and the surrounding counties are looking, the ring counties. Cobb County, 77% of the vote is in. Harris slightly overperforming where Biden was in 2020. Let's go over to Fulton County. This is where Atlanta is. A huge county for Democrats here. She's about where Biden was, 72% of the vote in. She can catch up and bring that up. Gwinnett County, again, these are the counties that Clinton flipped in 2016, and they just got bluer and bluer. And you can see what's happening here. 16% of the vote is in, but she's at 60. Biden was at 58. Let's keep going around here. Douglas County, 84% in. Here we go. Harris overperforming in that county. We'll come a little further out. Rockdale County will kind of move a little out the suburbs, the exurbs, if you will. 69%. Look at where Harris is tonight. 74%. She's running up that vote in the Atlanta metro region. If she can keep that momentum going, she could possibly take the state of Georgia. But again, we got to wait and see. I want to see how Trump is doing in some of his rural counties. 78%, 95% of the vote is in. So 78% in 2020. He's at 78 right now. Let me go to a neighboring Towns County right here, 8180. And then in Union, 8180. He seems to be hitting his marks too. I want to hit some sort of swing counties, if you will. Dooley is one of these. Trump won it in 2016, but if we go back, Obama had it in 2012. Tonight, Trump is up. He's building on his margins from 2020. That's a good sign for him. Let me see if Peach County is in. Peach County is another one that now no vote is in. This is one of those swing counties, not a whole lot of voters, but it usually sort of picks the winner. We like to watch it as we go around. Muskogee, this is 72%. This is one of the ones we're watching to see if Trump could make inroads with black voters here. Harris seems to be comfortable. She seems to be at the same watermark where Biden was in 2020. So guys, still very close in Georgia. As we said, too close to call. It was about 12,000 votes that separated this in 2020. Trump won this state by about 5 percentage points in 2016. The state is definitely changing, and the reason why it's changing, it's in this Atlanta metro region.
Yeah. We could
Go
flip in
for
North
it.
Carolina. I'd love to see some
Yeah, let's
North
go for it.
Carolina numbers. I mean, these numbers are coming in as we speak. Yeah, Might as well check
Let's
in.
hit
It's a
North
big
Carolina.
battleground.
Again, we're going to look at all the state. I'm going to be looking at Mecklenburg County. This is where Democrats have to drive up the vote. Only 6% is in, but we can see how she's performing here. You know, 6% is in. I'm not going to really draw too much from there, but she's overperforming Biden. We go to the research triangle here. Wake County, 76% of the vote is in. We compare her to Biden, 62 to 63. She's doing better. I know a lot of the vote is in. Over here in Orange County. This is UNC Chapel Hill, the research triangle. You have medical research jobs, high-tech research jobs, affluent suburbs, highly educated Democratic voters. 86% of the vote is in. Let's see how she compares to Biden. Slightly overperforming Biden, not by much, but look, any little increment makes a difference when you're talking about a 10,000 vote difference at the end of the day. Right now, the difference is about 41,000 in that county. Trump is on top right now. He's going to run up the rural vote. We can check out some of his counties over here in western North Carolina, Graham County. These are some of the counties that were affected by Hurricane Helene and all that devastating flooding. 95% in, 81%. In 2020, he was at 79, so kind of overperforming. The big unknown was how many people were going to actually vote in here. And one of the great researchers, Dr. Chris Cooper of North Carolina, political scientist, pointed out to us. He said, listen, this is Trump's area that was affected by those floods. You can have 9 MAGA hats in your house. But if you no longer have a house, trying to get your vote, trying to get your voting location is going to be difficult. They were so concerned about this area that election officials actually changed the rules so you could actually vote in other counties if you couldn't vote in your own county. It looks like turnout's okay. We heard that from Sam Brock. Asheville is that blue dot in the sea of red in North Carolina. again, affected by Hurricane Helene, 55% of the vote there in Buncombe County. Biden was at 59. Harris is overperforming. Again, any advantage she has in the counties where Biden was doing well or won, and she's hitting higher marks, Democrats are going to love that news. But there's still a lot of the vote is out, 76% in Wake, like we said. Let me see where else in the state that we're still waiting on vote, because there are a lot of rural counties. Listen, if right now, let me go to the entire state. So 41% of the vote is in. Look at this giant circle around Charlotte. I mean, Charlotte, a lot of that vote, Mecklenburg County, it's a county that is majority minority, right? Mostly Black and Hispanic. And they're still winning a lot of the vote there. That could be a very good sign for Democrats tonight. But some of the vote is out, like in these rural counties right here. If we check out Johnson County, just outside of Raleigh, connected to that, I'm actually kind of curious, even though only 8% is in here. This was a county that they were looking at to see if Democrats could make inroads there. It looks to be about the same, only 8% in, guys. But we're going to keep a close eye on North Carolina as more of this map gets filled out.
All right, so here's where we are, 7 minutes after 9 o'clock in the East Coast. Polls have closed now of 6 of 7 battleground states, still waiting, obviously, for the 7th. Hallie, you heard the numbers. Break it down how we're viewing it through the lens of the
through the exit polls, which are
It's
coming in, and I
projected
got to give a grain of salt caveat,
that
which
Trump
is
is
these
going to
numbers
win.
don't get
That's
finalized until
projection.
closer to Thanksgiving, right? So we don't want to
Ohio
overreact to them, but
leading.
they are an indication of where things stand. And what I'm looking at, given that polls have just closed now in the rest of the blue wall states, Michigan and Wisconsin, here's something interesting. Look at the youth vote here. This is a little tricky to look at, but I'm going to walk you through it. Look at Vice President Kamala Harris. She is winning younger voters under the age of 30 in Wisconsin, but Donald Trump is right on her heels there with 47%. He is actually winning younger voters in Michigan, 51% to 46%. And if you take a look even further into this, you can see that he
Pennsylvania,
is
Harris leading.
overperforming where he
Wow.
was among young voters in the state of
Rhode
Wisconsin,
Island.
47% now.
Jesus.
That's a double-digit increase from where he was 4 years ago. It's a similar story in Michigan. And I will also tell you, it is a similar story in Pennsylvania as well. You see the Michigan numbers here. Similar story in Pennsylvania as well when it comes to young voters. Now, we've been doing a lot of counterpoint tonight, so let me fill you in as I walk back to the desk. One of the counterpoints here is in Michigan and Wisconsin, Vice President Harris is doing better with older voters than she was relative to 2020. So there's some interesting dynamics at play here.
Well, it's interesting because we saw Gotti Schwartz in Arizona on the campus of Arizona State University, which gives me personal pain as a graduate of the University of Arizona. But I mean, he may be in ground zero of this very thing that exit poll is showing, which is young voters, young male voters, which the Trump campaign worked very hard to turn out, are responding accordingly. Some of them talking about this Joe Rogan podcast. Can't say I'm a regular listener to it, but he endorsed on the eve of the election, and that was extremely influential.
It could be very influential. And remember, in some of these states, you have same-day voter registration. And who takes the most advantage of it? Younger voters.
That's right.
You know, it was interesting. A lot of Democrats were very optimistic about some of their chances in some of the big Midwestern states for House, Senate, and the presidency, because unlike 2020, the Ann Arbor kids are going to vote in Michigan this time. In 2020, they voted in their home state. The Iowa City kids in Iowa, the Madison kids, and that this time they were all going to actually be in the battleground states.
Because of the pandemic, they were home.
The pandemic, they were home and more dispersed. Obviously, a big chunk of Michigan voters are from Michigan, University of Michigan folks from Michigan, but there's quite a few that aren't. And Democrats thought that could be a secret weapon for them. If the young men are pulling for Trump, then it's not as much of an impact. Still, there's a massive gender gap among young folks. Let's not. In fact, it may be bigger among young young voters
young
than
men
any
young
other
women.
age group.
And then we've seen as Laura Jarrett
I'm
joins the
gonna
table
predict
here,
the
that
minute
you're looking
I'm
into some of the legal issues, but also following this ballot referenda, including the abortion measure that needed a 60% approval, didn't quite get there, 57%, so it went down to defeat in Florida. But to carry on this conversation, young women have been highly motivated by this issue of reproductive rights.
Women of all ages motivated, young and old. And obviously, it didn't work in Florida, but the threshold was higher there. And we are still looking at a number of states, including places like Arizona, Missouri, Nebraska, South Dakota, all of which would change the right to an abortion to be enshrined in the Constitution, not something that you could take away easily. Once it's there, it can't just be wiped away when the change of legislature happens. And in those cases, it's a much different situation where you have to just get over a 50% threshold. And so it'll be interesting to see whether they can carry the ballot initiatives in those states, even if the former president is going to win in some of
We've
those
seen
states.
these ballot measures, pro-abortion ballot measures, even in very red states, pass and sometimes pass with 56, 57% of the vote, which, by the way, is what they got in Florida.
There has been a significant shift in the electorate, if these exit polls bear out to what we see right now, into how people feel about abortion rights and abortion access since 4 years ago. I would suspect it is entirely probably because of the overturning of Roe versus Wade. In 2020, 51% of people felt that abortion should be legal in all or most cases. You know what it is now? 66%. That is a significant jump.
Let me just quickly interrupt and go back to this second, but I believe we have another call to make, and this is in the state of Mississippi. NBC News now projects that Donald Trump will take all 6 electoral votes and will win in Mississippi. There is the breakdown right now. 21,000
there we go.
vote difference,
The
10%
SIP
in, but
Trump
again,
winning.
Trump the projected winner in Mississippi. Here's the map. Here's where it leaves us.
Trump winning in the SIP. Oh yeah. Home state. Sorry, but it is what it is. Yeah, Trump winning the SIP.
Or spokesperson to Kamala Harris. I wonder what you're seeing in these numbers. I assume you have good sources inside the campaign. What are you hearing?
Greetings, everyone. It's good to see you. So what I am hearing is that Democrats writ large in all of the battleground states, and I've been talking to party chairs, folks within the campaigns, but also the organizers on the ground, they're feeling encouraged by what they're seeing from college campuses specifically. In Wisconsin, for example, in the 3rd Congressional District, there are 2 large college campuses in that state. And as one individual in Wisconsin told me, that they could flip a House district seat. In Philadelphia, the turnout in Philly specifically has surprised some Democrats. From in Baltimore, D.C., New York, there were buses that left early this morning of strategists, organizers, even some donors, and they all went down and knocked doors in Pennsylvania, in the Philadelphia area and Philadelphia suburbs. Well, the numbers coming out of places like Temple University, where the lines were so long, people were standing in lines for 3 hours, college campus, they had to add more voting machines. They were not expecting that, Democrats, particularly in Pennsylvania. So they're encouraged, what I'm told, by the raw data, emphasis on the raw data they're seeing. So they don't want to speak out of turn, but they feel all right.
Yeah, Simone, what is worrying the Harris camp right now, looking at it from the other end of the glass?
Well, the lines are very long and they want people to stay in line, Lester. I'm told that actually in Pennsylvania specifically, celebrities are FaceTiming in to the people who are in line, encouraging them to stay in line. So the organizers are out there with the phones saying, hey, so-and-so is on the line. There are concerts actually happening. They are looking at Pennsylvania very closely. And as the time that the vice president spent in the state, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I think is also indicative of where they see some gaps. Also, obviously, DeKalb County, in Georgia, the lines, the polling locations were staying open longer because of the bomb threats that were happening there and the evacuations that had to happen, encouraging people to know that it is safe to
Trump
vote,
leading in
stay
Georgia.
in line, make your voice count. I think they want to ensure, they feel like that they can eke it out if people turn out to vote and stay in line.
All right. Simone, thanks very much.
We want to turn now to Garrett Hake. He's at Trump headquarters in West Palm Beach, Florida. And we just got the inside scoop from the Harris campaign. So what are you hearing from the Trump campaign about what they're seeing in these battleground states in the early going?
Savannah, the Trump campaign is very buoyed by what they've seen out of Wisconsin, specifically among black voters. They're pointing to our exit poll, which shows Donald Trump more than doubling his support among African Americans in Wisconsin. I cannot emphasize enough how much this has been an emphasis for the Trump campaign to try to improve their margins. They got blown out with African American voters in 2020. If they were able to move the percentage that they got from 8% to 10, 12, 15, in this case, based on these early exit polls, getting 20% in Wisconsin, that's the kind of thing that could make a huge difference in a race that might be decided by 15 or 20,000 votes in those states. They spent heavily on television. They spent heavily on African-American media, trying to find celebrity validators for Donald Trump, and particularly to reach out to young men. If Trump pulls this off tonight or in the days to come, those small changes at the margins among African-American men, I think, will be a huge part of this story.
All right, Garrett, thank you. I want to go over to Peter Alexander at Harris headquarters, Washington, D.C. And how's the feeling there? What's the vibe?
Louisiana.
Well, there's still a celebratory feel here right now. They're waiting for any particular data points that they can know if it's a good indication or not. The Harris campaign individuals still watching behind closed doors. The vice president watching alongside family and friends tonight. A lot of the donors and other big supporters of the vice presidents at a hotel here in Washington, D.C. watching as well before
Paris
they arrive
lead
here
in Maine.
later this evening. I'll tell you some of the data points that they are pointing to right now as potentially some good indicators. One comes out of
So
Pennsylvania, Philadelphia,
Harris going
specifically
in
as it
Maryland.
relates to those 3 wards with the largest densities of Puerto Rican voters right now, that they say in those particular wards that they saw as of 5 o'clock, 3 hours before the polls closed, they had already reached the same number in terms of turnout as they had 4 years ago, which is to say that they believe that they are exceeding the numbers in the past. They think that's a good indication there. I'll punctuate a thought that Simone Sanders was just sharing a short time ago. I am hearing again about those college campuses right now, everywhere from Nevada, UNLV, all the way to a series of separate campuses in
Harris
Philadelphia
lead
itself,
Michigan.
Temple, one of them that they
Anton, what you doing out there?
elsewhere in the state
Shout out
as
to
well.
Anton
And she's
Daniels.
talking about what is
What
really
you doing
key
out
to the
there in
campaign
Michigan?
right now in these sort of late evening hours, even after the polls have closed. They don't close if you were already in line. It's a message that they're sharing right now, FaceTiming in Jennifer
Minnesota,
Gardner and
of
Demimo,
course.
among others, to keep those
Fillmore
folks in
State.
line.
All right,
Yeah,
Peter.
Simone was making that point a moment ago about if they can keep them in line. They can.
You can keep them in line if Jennifer Garner's on the other line talking to your mom or Paul Rudd, and that's the strategy there. We've got a race to call here. Louisiana, no big surprise, but if you're filling out your map at home, you can add Louisiana there. Just 22% of the vote counted, but again, the margin expected to be rather large. So here's the map for those watching at home. The South, of course, reliably red for Donald Trump, and at this early hour, he is far out in front, but we await those key battleground states. And I think we've got Tom over there talking the great state of Ohio, a former battleground.
Semi-battleground, right? We got exit poll data out of Ohio as well. 17 electoral votes, about 55% of the vote is in. Trump is on top by about 266,000 votes. I want you to remember that number. Write it down if you can. I know it's kind of a big number, 266,000. The reason why I want to highlight that difference, because when we punch up Ohio here, so that's the spread, 287. It just changed. That's how fast voting data is coming in. Again, you know, I love going to this. The remaining vote that's there. Again, here's the issue. The remaining votes in the Democratic counties like Franklin, which is Columbus, Cuyahoga, Cleveland. Look at the numbers here. In Cuyahoga, look how many votes are still out. 377,000. She's on top by 71%. Let's see how she did compared to Biden 4 years ago. 66%. So she's overperforming in Cuyahoga, and there's still a lot of that vote that's out. Let's go down to Franklin County. It holds the capital of Ohio, Columbus, 68%. Overperforming there with about 60% of the vote that's in. And then again, 266,000 remaining. So just those 2 counties, we're talking about more than 500,000 votes. And that's way bigger than the spread for the entire state.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, when you talk about some of her overperforming in those areas, the reason we expect Ohio likely goes red, but let's talk about the Senate race there.
Yeah,
because we have the control of Senate hanging in the balance right now, and it hangs on this Senate race.
Yeah.
Bernie Moreno, the car dealer, versus Sherrod Brown, the incumbent. What are you seeing?
Yeah, so look at this, neck and neck. The difference here, only 74,000. So what does that mean? That means the Republican in this race is underperforming Trump. There could be a split ticket issue here. Again,
I showed
way
y'all the
too
Senate
early,
race early.
56% of the
Senate
vote
in
in.
the House.
But look, the difference here is 74,000. Remember that number I was telling you to remember? It was over 200,000. So that means that Trump is overperforming right now. Bernie Moreno is underperforming the Republican candidate. The incumbent is still down. But again, remember what I told you. There's a lot of that vote that's out in Cleveland, in Columbus. I'm going to look in one more spot here. Let's get back to the president's race. In Hamilton County, which is Cincinnati, she's at 62%. Biden was at 57. Again, look, this could be some of the early vote that's come in. It could be some of that blue mirage. Again, we're prefacing this is all early, but I'm going to get back over to you guys because there's a projection.
Yeah, Tom, we got a projection in the state of Rhode Island. NBC News projects that Kamala Harris will win in Rhode Island when all the votes are counted. 4 electoral votes for her. Here's where the breakdown is. 31,000 vote difference, 74% of the vote in, but again, Kamala Harris, the projected winner there. Let's pull up the map. The road to 270. That brings Harris now to 34 electoral votes. Donald Trump still well out in front with 168. Remember, 270 is the prize that we're working our way toward. We'll take a break here. It's 9:30 in the East. The vote counting coming in. Our decision desk standing by to make more projections just ahead.
Yo, that's
How
it.
do I amplify my company culture so that we can attract more?
Yo, what's going down? What is going down? Okay, so we're gonna check on a few more things here. You know what I'm saying? Let's chime in to. Let's see what Angry Man talking about.
Thanks for the election night coverage, AD.
Hold on.
Still, I can't get excited just yet. I'm sitting on the edge.
Hold on. Hey, where I'm at? Where I'm at? Let's see what Angry Man talking about real quick.
Go down fighting, baby. We either winning or we going down fighting, baby. Fuck that shit.
Stronghold here at College Town as well. Milwaukee and some of those cities around Milwaukee like Kenosha and so forth. So a big race here in Wisconsin, obviously, because it's such a key battleground state, but we're keeping a close eye on this Senate race. Eric Huffey hoping to knock off incumbent Tammy Baldwin, the Democrat who's running for a third term in the Senate. Back to you.
Braddock, thank you. As Logan just mentioned in his excellent report there, that state has always been so close. 2020 Biden.
Come on.
6.
Call Georgia.
16.8%.
She is not catching up. Call Georgia.
So some say there's still a little bit of a streak there.
She's still at a 1,000,000.7. Call Georgia.
That's right. So
Very political state.
Call it.
All right, let's welcome in Stephanie Hamill now. She's a contributing writer at the Media Research Center, and Trey Traynor, who's a commissioner at the Federal Elections Commission. Great to have you both with us this evening.
Great to see you, John and Bianca.
I'm watching right
I need a drink.
What's caught your eye? What are you looking at most closely this evening?
I'm watching right with Angry Man. Yo,
Actually, looking
he had
at
1,000,000.7. Trump at 1,000,000.9.
out there. A lot of people are really concerned about
I
where
get
this
it.
is
Call
going.
it.
I mean,
Real
we're
talk.
hoping that Kamala would win this in a landslide, and that doesn't appear to be the case.
Let's go MAGA.
Yeah. Do you think
Let's go MAGA.
Media Research Center?
Yo.
Let's go MAGA.
This overwhelmingly negative for Donald Trump, Trey, and overwhelmingly positive for Kamala Harris.
Well, the coverage has been that.
Call
for me, I've been
Georgia.
monitoring very closely the legal situation, having over 20 years experience doing election law.
We got
I look at things like what's
Louisiana.
going on in
Call
Milwaukee, where
Georgia.
Milwaukee was very slow counting the vote earlier today, and then the legal team up there found out that they were doing the counting in an insecure environment.
All right. We got to go back real quick. We about to go back real quick. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. Damn it. I gotta get y'all straight.
Former President Trump, some for the vice president, and still so many, the bulk of states right there in the middle, and still so many people still voting along the West Coast in places like Hawaii and Alaska as well. Let's remind you and walk you through the paths that each candidate hopes to take to get to the White House. Let's start with Vice President Kamala Harris. We'll click her in here, get to 2024. This is the predetermined map of how the states voted in 2020, and then the 7 battlegrounds that will be decided tonight. So her easiest path is Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. She holds that blue wall. If she can do that, she gets to 270. If she's having a very rough night and she loses Pennsylvania, loses Michigan, loses Wisconsin, she has other paths, but she does have a Sun Belt path where if she can flip North Carolina, hold Georgia, hold Arizona, and get Nevada, hold it once again, she gets there as well. That path, though, would give Democrats heart palpitations. As far as former President Trump, his easiest route, just think of the east side. He holds Pennsylvania. He flips Pennsylvania. He holds North Carolina. He flips Georgia back. He gets to 270. But if he can't win Pennsylvania, he has to win somewhere else in the blue wall. He has to break through the blue wall. That's the main difference between his path and the vice president's path. There's a path for her, even though she doesn't win any of these 3 big Midwest states. But for him, he has to win one of them. If he wins Michigan and he flips North Carolina, holds Georgia, he can win any of these 2 out west, either Nevada or Arizona, put him over the top. But if he can only win Wisconsin, I'm going to take Nevada away. He has to win Arizona to get to 272. So you can see it's going to be a long night for us. But every state sort of leads to a domino effect, if you will. And that's one of the reasons why we were watching Ohio, because if he were not to win a state like Ohio, which he won the last 2 presidential elections, his whole map changes. Guys, back to you.
Well, right now, so far tonight, we haven't had any big shockers. But let's talk about Pennsylvania. There's a reason that the campaigns spent more money there, spent more time there. It may well, at the end of this night, or perhaps it will be Saturday morning, like in 2020, it will all come down to Pennsylvania.
It very well could come down to Pennsylvania. 19 electoral votes. It is the biggest battleground prize out there. And part of why we're watching states like Ohio so closely, like North Carolina as well, particularly in the suburbs, is to test how those counties, in those collar counties in Pennsylvania might go. Remember, President Biden won Pennsylvania not because he won the Philadelphia County area, but because he was able to really drive up the vote among white working class voters in those collar counties. One more point just to mention as we watch all of these returns come in. When President Biden was at the top of the ticket, a state like North Carolina was out of reach for Democrats. The fact that we're talking about it right now, the fact that there's been so much play in North Carolina, that former President Trump spent so much time there in recent days, underscores the fact that they have tried to open up more paths, and we'll have to see if that was effective at all.
I want to ask a little bit about Michigan. We haven't really talked much about the Gaza war in Gaza and how that might affect the vote, in Detroit and in parts of Michigan. Are we getting any read there at all?
Well, it's going to be something that matters, right? Because we saw that uncommitted vote. We know there's an Arab American population in largely Wayne County. It's only about 2% of the population, but it could be potentially significant here. You saw Vice President Harris, as she was on the campaign trail just in the last few days here, begin her rally speech, one of them
what's
in Michigan,
going on out
by
there in Michigan?
referencing, of course, Israel, Gaza, what was happening. She doesn't typically start off her campaign speeches, her stump speech that
But she's
way.
been heckled at times.
That's right. She has again and again, she has faced down protesters who heckle. She
Kamala
typically says
lead in
something along the
Ohio.
lines of, "You have a right to be heard, so do I," and I'm speaking now, which is a line that she's become sort of known for at this point. But the other piece of this too, when you look at this, Michigan is a place, it's going to be critical for her, as Tom has just laid out in the map. It is also the place where she started this shift in the last few days on her closing argument, moving away from this idea that Donald Trump was sort of looming large as this threat to democracy, this ominous shadow hanging over America, and shifting away from saying his name at all, calling him the other guy, trying to make him seem small, unserious, Lester.
All right, we have another call to make, and this is a pretty big one. The state of New York, and not necessarily a surprise, but NBC News projects that New York Kamala Harris is the projected winner. I'll get this out, projected winner in New York. And there you see the vote difference, 845,000, 33% in. Here's the map to show us where we are on that road to 270. That puts Donald Trump out front with 168. Harris with 62 now.
Let's continue this conversation about Michigan, about young voters, because this issue,
That figures New York would, though.
Israel, this is a very potent issue with young voters, with the many students. And we see Kamala Harris struggling with that. We've seen
Maryland.
Michigan trying to bring up that kind of dissent that is going on. It's very interesting. In the primary, there was an uncommitted vote, sort of a protest vote against President Biden. 100,000 people voted uncommitted in the primary. The margin in 2020 was 154,000. So this is a constituency that very much matters.
Absolutely. And with young voters right now, we just had Hallie, you brought this up on the data wall a little bit ago. Trump is leading young voters. And again, that gender gap is playing out right here. It's large with voters under 30. Of men, 59% going for Trump, 39% going for Harris. Women, 54% Harris, 44% Trump. He's continuing to close those margins. The other thing that's interesting about Michigan, of course, there's a 52,000 person campus, University of Michigan. Back in 2016, Trump only won by about 11,000 votes. On that campus, I actually anecdotally heard students energizing other students by saying, if only a fifth more of this campus were to have come out, it could have made a difference. So what does that look like right now? Who does that mean did better on those campuses if we start to see those margins be eat away at?
And you'll recall back in 2016, sorry, Hallie, you'll recall in 2016, Hillary Clinton, when she did the postmortem of her campaign, the criticism was she didn't spend enough time in Michigan. And so what we've seen from the Harris campaign is she has been there. And Trump has certainly been there as well. He closed out his campaign there. And so the Democrats have tried to learn from the mistakes of the past. Trump has been very focused on that area as well because he knows he's got to.
Well, just to demonstrate how complicated politics is, Harris is on defense to a certain extent over her stance with Gaza and Israel, the Biden administration stance in Michigan, but then also losing some of the Jewish vote, for example, in Pennsylvania and Florida. We've heard about that anecdotally as well. It's about the bottom of the hour. We can do some race checks here. You mentioned Michigan. Well, let's put it up there. Let's see what we've got in terms of results, and the votes are being counted in Michigan, one of those key Midwest battlegrounds. It is too early to call. That's just about a little over 10% of the vote, but now you've got an eye on what we've got there. Arizona polls just closed a half hour ago. Way too early to call there. It may well be days before we're able to call that one. Wisconsin, another in the industrial Midwest, too early to call. Just starting to get the votes counted. Pennsylvania, stop me if you've heard it before. It may all come down to Pennsylvania, and it is too early to call, but we're about 30% of the vote there. North Carolina, also too early to call at this hour. And staying down south in the Sunbelt state of Georgia, which President Biden carried 4 years ago, and former President Trump badly wants to get back into that red column. That is too close to call at this hour. So here is the road to 270. That is the magic number that a candidate needs to win the White House, and that is where we are in the early going at this hour.
I always wonder what it looks like from the other side, from the candidates, when they're doing the same thing we are, essentially, pulling up these numbers, trying to weed through them, trying to figure out where you can be optimistic, when you don't have the pressure of people looking at you.
You want a fun fact? Fun fact alert?
We love it.
The last election was decided in 4 states by approximately 79, 80,000 voters. You could fit those voters into Cowboy Stadium. Wow. That's
You
what
did
we're
your
talking
homework,
about.
girl. Let me
We're
tell
talking
you,
about budget.
that
And
is
believe
a
me,
good, that's
my
a good
husband's
nugget.
going to be very mad at me that I
You
didn't
brought
say
up the
Eagles
Cowboys.
Stadium, but
Exactly.
it wasn't the right number for the stadium. I tried.
You stick with any stadium you want.
Yeah, you got next to polls?
He's sad about the link. Yeah, I do. And this is a more broad look at the issues that voters say are important to them. As we're talking about some of these issues in these key battleground states, nationally, we saw something really interesting here, right? We saw consistently in public polling over the course of months, it's economy, inflation, cost of living that voters said over and over again was the most important issue to them. But look at this electorate. From our exit polls that we're seeing now, and again, this could shift a little bit. These numbers could still change a bit as more waves of information come in. But look at what's number one. 34% of voters say the state of democracy is the most important issue to them. Put a little asterisk next to that. We're going to talk about that more in just a second. Second here, 31% of voters say the economy is the most important issue to them. That is typically what we would see in other elections. It's what we've seen in the past. I would also note that just because a candidate leads on the top issue doesn't mean that they would win the election. Abortion is right there at 14%, immigration trailing at 11%. And why do I bring that up? That was key to former President Trump's close. When you look at the vote breaks for this, which just means who people supported when they said this was their top issue, on state of democracy, voters broke for Kamala Harris. So she leads on that issue. More people who said that democracy was their most important thing backed Kamala Harris than did Donald Trump. She is also leading on abortion as well. It's the flip when you look.
But we live in a republic out here, people. We live in a republic. Cut the crap out.
Issue backed former President Trump. That is not altogether shocking, right? Those issues, economy, inflation, immigration, it largely tracks with what we had been seeing over the course of many months since Kamala Harris got into this race in public polling. But here's what's interesting, and let me walk back to the desk with you to talk through some of these democracy issues here. This is a funny question, state of democracy, because there are Republicans who believe that the state of democracy is an existential threat, largely because of the election fraud lies that Donald Trump talks about. There are Democrats who believe that the state of democracy is under threat because of former President Trump himself, if he were to be back in office. So this is a tricky one. It's not like it cuts obviously one way or the other. So there's some unpacking to do.
It's a Rorschach test. What is the state of democracy?
That's exactly
It
right.
would probably be better framed as, what do you think the state of the country is? Do you think that this is a high stakes election? Do you think it's a do or die? Is it existential? I think that's what people are responding to, and perhaps why we see that being the top issue.
Well, and it's so mirrored in what we saw in the closing arguments of both of these campaigns. You saw Vice President Kamala Harris try to argue that Donald Trump was a threat to democracy. You saw Donald Trump make arguments that his political rivals were the quote unquote enemy from within. And so it is a Rorschach test. And it also just speaks to why, as we watch these states come in, the battlegrounds seem to be very sharply divided, as our polls indicate.
Right track, wrong track always kind of leaves you with that that question is, are we judging a president or are we judging just the overall sense of life these days?
Absolutely. And the fact that you have this significant majority saying that the country's headed in the wrong direction.
You know what it is?
A challenge.
It's interesting because we haven't talked that much about that thing that happened this summer where Joe Biden had a terrible debate and he was expected for 18 months to be the candidate and then he wasn't. Do we have any indication in any of these early numbers how Kamala Harris is performing compared to how he may have performed? I mean, it's a hypothetical.
I was going to say favorability is probably what gets us there most closely. I don't think we have those graphics ready to pull up, but Joe Biden, if my memory serves, is something at like 41% favorable based in exit polls, which was a question that was asked. She is at something like, I want to say 48%. So she is, or 49%. She's outpacing where both Joe Biden and Donald Trump were. But Savannah, I'm so glad you brought this up. We called Delaware like an hour ago, right? Joe Biden's home state. And it made me think about what a different race this would look like, how different tonight would look if Joe Biden were still on the ticket. Vice President Harris has done this thing where she's tried to both distance herself from President Biden. She told me in our interview just a couple of weeks ago, Joe Biden is not on the ticket. Like, I am the one who is running on the Democratic ticket, which she's right. She is on the top of the ticket. But at the same time, she has not distanced herself in a super clear way from a lot of his various policies. She has said that.
Yeah, she on the top of the ticket because we ain't even vote for her in the damn primary. Listen, look.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
All right.
The Joe Biden, the Trump campaign thinks that Biden is a clear drag on the Harris ticket.
It's been one of the biggest challenges of her entire campaign, including in her interview with Hallie, has been asked over and over again, how will you govern differently than President Joe Biden? She struggled to answer that in part, I'm told, because personally she did not want to betray him, but it has been something that's been a challenge.
She also cited, I think it was your interview, she cited history, the fact that typically vice presidents, don't.
Yeah, that's right. That was our colleague, Peter Alexander, I think, if I'm remembering that one correctly. I'm going to pull aside with her several weeks ago. But she said, listen, typically vice presidents don't go after, their boss, if you will, their president. She talked about this issue of loyalty, but at the same time, she also says, my presidency will not be a continuation of the Biden administration.
The problem that she had was when asked specifically, I believe on an ABC program, what would you do differently? She said, nothing comes to mind.
Right, she did.
It's been, what, 108,
Well, right, but that's about, that question's coming when you have an unpopular incumbent. We want to go to NBC's Sam Brock. He's in Asheville, North Carolina, where I understand the counting is wrapping up. What are you hearing?
Savannah, it's done. Look, I have it fresh off the presses right here from Buncombe County. The official results are in. First of all, they had a 73.69% turnout, which is almost their record high. It was 78 back in 2020. But considering everything that happened in Western North Carolina about a month ago, this is extraordinary. And the results are almost exactly the same as they were 4 years ago as well. It was 60-38 in favor of Kamala Harris for this county, which is about 140,000 votes. It was 59-38 back in.
All right, we got to check out another view real quick. Hold on. Hold on. We got to check out another view real quick. Here we go.
Vote outside of Atlanta didn't seem like it turned up as much for Kamala Harris, which is an indicator of, Donald Trump really being able to connect with everyday Americans. You heard Obama go out on the campaign trail telling black men to go out behind Kamala, and it wasn't really received well. Donald Trump, and you'd see the media going into these barber shops, and then she tried to do it, and it just never really rang sort of authentic. And clearly, now we're watching some of the results coming in. Yep. National correspondent Mike Carter is in a key state, obviously, of Pennsylvania. He's been tracking sentiment in Pittsburgh, near Butler. Mike, good to see you.
Hey, Bianca.
Near Butler. Mike, good to see you.
Hey, Bianca. Yeah, we are in the Keystone State, the keyest of the states. We're at Dave McCormick's watch party here in downtown Pittsburgh. I'm just looking at the results as they come in right now in the presidential race. Just in the last 3 minutes, when we had 26% of the vote reporting here in Pennsylvania, Donald Trump was down by 11 points to Kamala Harris with about 2 million votes in. That has now been cut down to a Harris lead of about 6 percentage points. So we expected that. Early results, of course, coming out of Philadelphia, where we know that it's It's been lower than expected Democrat vote turnout. When it comes to the Senate race, where Dave McCormick is going to be here tonight, in one way or another, he'll have something to say. Dave McCormick came into the game down by anywhere from 2 to 3 points. Now, a lot of people expect that Donald Trump does end up having a good showing tonight here in Pennsylvania. He'd be enough to get Dave McCormick over the line. As you know, a Senate seat coming out of Pennsylvania. We may be adding another one in Montana. Of course, Ted Cruz just announced that he will maintain that Senate seat in Texas. Republicans looking to grow an ever-growing majority in the Senate this time around. When it comes to this Senate race here in Pennsylvania, we have about 30% of the vote in, and right now, Bob Casey is leading Dave McCormick 52% to 45%. So, look, a lot of votes still need to come in. What we do know is this: Lancaster County, the Amish community, has come out big time in support of Donald Trump this time around. We're also waiting to hear about Reading, Pennsylvania, and Allentown. Those are majority Latino, majority Hispanic communities, and Donald Trump and his opponent in this race, Kamala Harris, are going to be very interested to see where those areas of the state are trending. 500,000 Latinos call Pennsylvania home. They could very well decide this race. Right now, still too close to call in Pennsylvania. Here at the McCormick camp, people are feeling good. Everyone's really kind of looking at the big boards. They're enjoying themselves. They know we have a long night ahead of us. Guys?
Rogers. I mean, sorry, Paul Rogers.
We're about to roll back here. Let's go.
Of North Carolina, the coastal communities here, only 5% in, but this is also one of those counties that has always picked the winner, North Carolina. Not enough vote in to even compare it. I do want to talk about the triad. This is, again, sometimes the forgotten metro area, but huge population center for North Carolina. A lot of the historically black universities are here as well. Greensboro, Guilford County, 55% in. Let's see how she's doing compared to Biden. Look, she's holding her marks, so this is pretty good. I want to see how Trump's doing, though, in some of the rural counties where he has to drive up the vote. Robeson, look, only 23% in. He's overperforming there. I want to go a little closer to Charlotte. Union County seems to be doing okay. Again, this is along the southern border, right above South Carolina. Seems to be holding his own. Anson, 92% in. This is actually a big flip. Let me see what this looked like in 2016. So this is interesting. Clinton won in 16. Biden won in 2020 with 92% of the vote in. Trump is on top right now. Again, not a large county you're going to see. There's only about 10,000 votes here, but we're kind of reading the tea leaves and seeing where everything's at so far. Again, statewide, 63% in. This is the only battleground state that Trump won in 2020. That's why we're watching it so close. It was very close. It was his slimmest margin. 63% of the vote is in. We're still watching and waiting here in North Carolina. As soon as we can make a call, again, too early, you know we're going to project it, guys.
Tom, you had a little something for everybody. In that, no matter who you're rooting for. We got a couple of results to read to you right now. These are ballot measures. We saw the abortion measure go down to defeat in Florida. It had a 60% threshold. In New York, it passes easily. 71% of the vote is the margin there. We'll go to Maryland. There was also an abortion rights measure, and that easily passes as well. Both of those blue states. I'll bring Laura Jarrett into this conversation because we do have 10 states that have these ballot measures, and obviously Democrats have hoped that that would help their fortunes, and especially in these battleground states.
New York, obviously not a place where people think of abortion rights under threat, but the initiative there was broader than just about abortion. It had to do with anti-discrimination principles more generally, reproductive health care a part of that, but it was also about pregnancy and the like. And so that's why it was even on the ballot in a place like New York. But you think about a place like South Dakota, a completely different story. We still have to wait to see what happens there. Arizona, a different story. Missouri, we still don't have enough in to be able to make a call on that.
And forgive me, let's see if the brain's still working here at 9:45.
You got a big set of cards there,
this is a late night for the Today Show. But Nebraska has two measures, doesn't it?
It does.
1 for, 1 against.
1 for, 1 against, and so we'll see how that.
So
one
which
shakes
one
out.
wins? The one with the raw vote.
The one that has the more. the one that has the majority, but we don't have enough in to make a call on that.
And of course, there have been other states that went this road prior to tonight.
Many states that had went this road and had been able to reach the threshold to pass it, Lester. That's why the Florida situation was interesting, obviously, as we've been discussing, different because of the threshold there. But you think about a place like Michigan, places like Ohio had managed to get it through in the past.
We have another presidential projection here we can put up on the screen here and walk you through it. I see it as you see it. NBC News projects Donald Trump will take the state of Ohio with 17 electoral votes. There is the breakdown of 441,000 vote difference now. 64% of the vote in Ohio. And again, Donald Trump is the winner there. And there's where it takes us on the road to 270. Donald Trump out in front with 185 electoral votes. Harris with 81.
All right, let's go to Savannah Sellers. We always need not one, but two Savannahs sitting at the desk at any time, if possible. Exactly. Savannah, I mean, you've been looking a lot into the youth vote, and we were just talking about abortion. And for young women, that obviously is a galvanizing issue for many of them.
It certainly is. For young women, it is their top issue. And that's where we're really seeing a huge gender divide also. For young women, 42% saying it is their top issue to just 10% of men saying that it's their top issue. When you talk about men, it's what you guys were mentioning earlier. The threats to democracy is up there, as well as the economy. There are certain states, too, where we are seeing, I know we were talking about North Carolina a moment ago, where we are seeing Trump improve specifically with that young men, the under 30. In North Carolina, when I came to set just a little bit ago, 60% said they supported him. That's up from 42% that voted for him back in 2020. So continuing to watch that. Abortion was also one where I saw a lot of activation on those college campuses all over the state of North Carolina, just talking about getting out to vote for the presidential ticket with that being attached to it. Of course, with the issue being attached to Harris, and within Michigan, as well as in Arizona. Arizona's an interesting one, though, because, of course, as I'm talking to the expert when it comes to Arizona, but the state of ASU.
We're going to check out on the blue wall here, and we have a new characterization in the state of Wisconsin. Our decision desk now calling it too close to call. You can see Kamala Harris out front right now. 23% of the vote in there, but again, too close to call in Wisconsin. Our election night coverage continues next with another batch of poll closings, including a critical swing state. We hope you can stay with us.
Where your sanctuary becomes a refuge to find your power and your potential. Strength knows no boundaries, and now.
All right, so we about to check out Anton Daniels real quick and see what's going on over there. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. Here we go.
He likened the difference between Republicans and Democrat. He said that Republicans are more conscientious and liberals are more like flighty and like in their thoughts.
That's true. They tend to be more artsy too.
So he said it has to do with temperament more than what we actually believe, is what he said.
Slimmy, the chat is going crazy.
But he also said we need each other. He said we need these artsy motherfuckers to dream up new thoughts, but they need the Republicans to put them into action because they can't do it.
Eric D, I know you're saying that Ohio is red. That means nothing to me. I don't believe it doesn't. It does.
I tried to tell that nigga Oklahoma been red for 80 years, and he was like, "Nigga, vote."
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. I genuinely don't. It's the principle. It's the fact that we have a civic duty to. It means more. You know, it gives validation and the things that. Again, if I didn't vote, regardless of what state that I'm in, it would look like a stain on me as a content creator that speaks so much and is so educated about politics. It matters. It always.
You know what? There's a comment that really did it for me. I was looking at Quentin didn't vote. The fucking little whoever fucking edits your shit. I'm like, yeah, they will put this shit up there. And one of them was like, this is an indictment on Anton. If one of his people don't vote, I was like, fuck.
And I like that. And I'm always going to put pressure on y'all. And not just voting, but just in life. Because my expectation, I look at y'all as extensions of me also. I genuinely do. You know what was so interesting that happened over the summer? I was watching that whole fallout with Mr. Beast, right? Now, Mr. Beast is clean as a
Mr.
whistle.
Beast had a fallout?
Well, he had one with some of the, one of his friends, his longtime friends that has been a part of, all of the stuff that he's been doing on the internet. A lot of people may not be familiar with it, but I follow a lot of stuff and I like to pay attention to everything that's happening to everybody. And so one of his friends and content creators that's a part of his platform had got caught up, and it was somebody, I believe, that had been transitioning, and while at the same time of transitioning, and I mean transitioning from a man to a woman, I believe also, if I'm not mistaken, it had got caught up with like hanging out with some underage people and stuff like that. And they didn't go at him as much as they went at Mr. Beast. You know why? Because Mr. Beast was a representation of what people then came to expect when, with all of the other people. And so,
Right. I could dig that. All right, listen, look. All right. Let me talk about something else. Listen, look, we're gonna get back to where I'm at right now. All right. Let's keep going.
Winning that Senate seat there after Senator Joe Manchin announced he wasn't running for re-election. The Ohio Senate race, really significant, guys, and one to watch.
All right, we've got a call in the Kansas presidential race. Donald Trump is the projected winner in Kansas now. NBC News can project. Let's see where that brings us. Here's the breakdown right now. 31,000 vote difference, but again, Donald Trump will win there. Let's take you to the map and see where we are on the road to 270. Donald Trump with 191, Kamala Harris 81 electoral votes. And we also want to go back and revisit, I think we have Michigan and Pennsylvania, I think, both too early to call.
Too close to call at this hour.
There we go.
Yeah, we'll pause there. Let some of our other stations catch up with us as we show you the road to 270, the map filling out, but we got a lot of work to do.
All right, welcome back. Here is where we stand right now on the road to 270. The map is slowly filling in. I think we're still at 6 of 7 battlegrounds. We've seen the polls close right now, so we're kind of in a waiting game. Actually, we have Kansas now. I believe we can make a call on. NBC News projects the state of Kansas will go to Donald Trump with 6 electoral votes. Here's the map now to 270 as we add that to the group. And Donald Trump out with 191 now to Harris's 81.
You mentioned we have 6 of 7 presidential battlegrounds to get to. Nevada will close here at the top of the hour, but let's look at Michigan. Too close to call right now, just 15% in. We could be up all night and perhaps beyond. Michigan didn't get called till late the next day in 2020. Pennsylvania, need I remind you, we were here till Saturday waiting for its results, but officials think they will be able to move a little bit more quickly, but at this hour, it's much too close to call. A tight race there. Difference of 48,000 votes. So we will see how that shakes up. About 9:53, we've got more polls set to close soon. Candidates hoping to strike gold in the silver state, Nevada, rolling their dice.
We're heading into the final stretch. More poll closings across the West, including another battleground state.
Nevada and its 6 electoral college votes could be critical.
Nevada, get out and vote.
Nevada, ours is a fight for the future.
Both sides going all in, trying to win the state by targeting its large population of service workers.
No tax on tips.
We will continue our fight and eliminate taxes on tips.
We're moments away from the first results from Las Vegas and the rest of the state as our decision desk gets ready to make new calls on the road to 270.
Sound like she just copying. No tax on tips. He already said that.
See Steve Patterson, who's in Reno, the biggest little city in America, and a key swing county there. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Savannah. I have some bad news if you like to sleep in this state. We're maybe about 5 minutes before the polls close, or do they? And I say that because the lines are still ridiculously long. I'm in Washoe County, as you mentioned, in Reno. This is the Washoe County complex. It's like where all the government buildings are, the county clerk's office, registrar of voters. If you come this way, you can see this line snakes beyond the county recorder. That county recorder means you have 40 minutes to go left if you've reached this point. Meanwhile, though, we're hearing about lines that continue to be long all across the state. Southern Nevada, there's a place called Nye County where we're hearing lines that are up to 3 hours long. They don't have enough machines per people in that county. What that means is, unfortunately, because they cannot really release the data on how many people have voted, who has voted, some of the returns until the last person in line across the state has voted, it means numbers are going to be very slow. They can obviously tabulate sort of in person, they can tabulate the early voting, they can tabulate the mail-in ballots, but they can't release any of that data until the last person has left the line, which means it's going to mean a lot more coffee tonight for people that are trying to watch the vote. Also, one thing to keep track of, the nonpartisan vote. That's the reason why we're in Washoe County. This is an incredibly purple county. People vote the issues, they vote their feelings. They don't vote party line, which leads us to talk about nonpartisans. It is a third of the electorate in this state, higher share than Republicans, higher share than Democrats. These folks, we're not sure which way they're going to vote, which has been confounding pundits. And it's been really tough for people trying to read the tea leaves and what exactly the numbers mean. I've spoken to both campaigns in the state. Both seem to think that they have a Trojan horse. Of course, Democrats seem to think that nonpartisans are younger, a little more racially diverse. Republicans seem to think that they're going to skew more conservative. And so we will see. But unfortunately, I think not anytime soon. It could be a minute before we get any sort of results here in the Silver State.
All right. Well, Steve, stand by. Nobody sleeps in Las Vegas, maybe not in Reno either. We know you won't be sleeping tonight. Tom, let's look at Nevada. This is a state where Republican fortunes have risen since the last presidential election.
Yeah, you are completely right. They have a Republican governor there. Let's talk about Nevada here. Right now, no vote in. Obviously, it's still too early for us to even start to get data in right here. But let's go to 2020. Both elections, both in 2020 and 2016, the winner were Democrats. Clinton in 2016, obviously, and Biden in 2020. The spread, though, was only 2 percentage points, a little over 2 percentage points. That's why it's a battleground for us. It's one of the reasons why we're watching tonight. I'm going to give you a primer on Nevada. What you have to understand is a lot of Nevada is Clark County. It's Las Vegas here. This is 3/4 of the electorate here. If Democrats can turn out their voters here, there is no way that Republicans can catch up. Between Las Vegas and Reno, which is Washoe County, this is the battleground county here. About 15% of the vote here. The vote in Washoe actually is more reflective of the entire state, much more than Las Vegas is. It's reflective because it's a mix of both Republicans and Democrats. Democrats have been able to hold Washoe County for a couple of elections now. If they can hold it tonight and do well in Las Vegas, it's game over there. But look at all of this Trump country in the middle. It's not a lot of people, but it is rural desert. With the exception of Elko, you have some population centers there. And this is where Trump hopes to run up the score. Something else we have to understand, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, about Nevada is that you have people from Northern California who have been moving since the pandemic into Reno, right? And then Southern California moving into Las Vegas. People from California find it more affordable. They find it that they can get more for their money. Because of that, housing prices have gone up. So the economy and housing prices are a huge issue in Nevada. And finally, the last point I want to bring up here is that the unemployment rate right now in Nevada is over 5%. It's the highest of any state in the entire country. So the economy is going to be huge here. And you got to remember, Trump came out with his plan about no tax on tips. You have all those service workers and the service unions in Las Vegas. Democrats quickly adopted that plan because they knew it was a good idea. Unclear if it's ever going to become law or if they can even do that. But it was a plan that caught a lot of attention in Nevada, guys.
And a populist appeal, definitely.
And I think I'm glad Tom was talking through those points here because I think of Nevada and I think economy, right? You talked about the Republican governor, that largely driven by anger over pandemic shutdowns on the Strip, et cetera. No tax on tips. I'll also tell you another number. I think it's $3.80, just about $3.79. That's the price of a gallon of gas in Nevada, the highest of any battleground state. The economy is a big factor in this state, as are the Latino population, of course, and that's another factor that
Democrats for a long time had a big registration advantage, but that's all but disappeared. And as you mentioned, a Republican won statewide office, the governor's race in 2022.
It's also one of these states with an abortion ballot initiative as well, and a state that the Trump campaign believes you could see some ticket splitters on that.
And it's a competitive Senate race in Nevada as well. We talked about the fact that some of these Senate races, if you rewind about a month ago, weren't so competitive. It is incredibly tight. Senator Jackie Rosen looking for another term.
Look, if the way so far that Donald Trump's performing tonight versus Harris, this really is an indictment of the Democratic Party for the last 3 years. Because you want to talk about Nevada, you talk about the voter registration advantage. Republicans, basically, for the first 3 years of this presidential cycle, just destroyed the Democrats on voter registration. all across the country in the battleground states, Republican registration advantage. The last 3 months, Democrats have done well. 3 years.
They'll pull her out there. She'll come from the salon with her Brazilian blowout, right, in her tan. So she gonna make a killing out there on the previous.
Oh, my bad. Hold on. I screwed that up. Let me go back here. Sorry, coach. Hold on.
Get a result in Nevada until Saturday, so we could be waiting a while. In fact,
Oh,
you can
yes,
send
we
your-
remember.
Oh, we remember. You can send your
Don't
mail
even-
about-
exactly.
Don't even bring
Don't
it up.
even
They
bring
said
it.
that everyone's
Yeah.
triggered here. Okay,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, too close to call. Got to say that was a Saturday call as well in 2020. Michigan, too close to call there. Let's see how much vote we've gotten though at this hour. Just too close to call, but we are getting to a much higher number. We can get down into the counties in just a bit with Tom Yamas. He's right over there, North Carolina as well, starting to count more votes, too close to call. And finally, out west, the great battleground state of Arizona, too close to call. That's another one that may take several days before we get results. So let's go to Tom. And I mean, Pennsylvania, we cannot talk about it enough. It may all hinge on Pennsylvania just as it did in 2020.
Yeah, and earlier I was talking about Eastern PA, guys, not to talk about Western PA. Go Steelers fans. Let's start in Pittsburgh and Allegheny County here. 66% of the vote, and let's compare it to 2020. Slightly overperforming. That's good news for Harris because that's what she needs to do there if she wants to win the state of Pennsylvania. And look at this, Butler County. You'll remember that's where that first assassination attempt took place, just miles from Pittsburgh. Look what a different place this is. Trump is on top. 71% of the vote is in. He got 65 in 2020, 65%. He's now at 64. He's essentially performing where he needs to be. I also want to see how the vote is in these Western communities, Western PA communities, because fracking was a big issue here. Vice President Harris had to change her position on that. Washington County, right here on the border, Trump with 60% of the vote. Let's see how he did compared to 2020. It's about the same. Westmoreland right next to here. It butts up against Allegheny County. 47% of the vote is in. He's at 65. So he's kind of where his marks were in 2020. Remember, he has to do a little bit better. Erie is the one that we're going to be watching. This is the big swing county. We only have 1% in. The reason why we're watching this is because Erie almost always picks the winner of the election here. We only have 1% in Erie County, but we'll be watching that. Let's move east now because I know we have a lot of people from the Philadelphia area on the anchor desk tonight. See what's happening over there. Let's start in Chester County. Okay, so I'm going to give a quick whip around here. 2020, remember. So Harris has to drive up the vote in the suburbs just like Biden did and try to turn out that vote in Philadelphia County. So Chester's one of those ring counties. Let's move over to Delaware County here. She's overperforming there. Only a quarter of the votes in. Let's get to Philadelphia County here. 79%. She's going to want to increase those numbers. Again, we're still waiting on a lot of the vote. It's still very early. Remember, some of these counties are going to report late. 28% in, 69% overperforming there. This is where Governor Shapiro is. You may remember that. She closed out her final ad sitting right next to Governor Shapiro, making sure the people of Pennsylvania saw that. And then I want to park on Bucks for a while, and then I want you guys to talk a little bit about Bucks. 24% in, but this is the county, the ring county around Philadelphia, one of those collar counties that Republicans thought they could make some inroads here. More working class than some of those neighboring suburb areas, counties. They say Southern Bucks might be a little bit more Trump country. That may have changed this election. We're going to have to wait and see. But you can see here the numbers aren't as high as they were with 24% in, 56% of the vote. Trump's going to have to try to run up the vote a little bit here if he wants to do better. I'm going to look at one more area before I send it to you guys. This is the swing here. Northampton almost always picks the winner in Pennsylvania. This is Easton. This is Bethlehem. That's that whole Lehigh Valley area there. Biden was at 49. Harris is right there. Look, guys, it's tough to draw any kind of information on who's on top or who's lower right now. Still too close to call. Trump's on top, but only about 17,000 votes. You remember the spread in 2020 was about 80,000 votes. So a lot of votes still out here. One thing I do want to mention, there was an exit poll out of Pennsylvania on Latino voters, and they broke for Trump in a major way. That could possibly be a deciding effect here in Pennsylvania because you're talking about 600,000 Latinos that are registered to vote. Guys, back to you.
Can we talk a minute about the amount of money that is spent in some of these races? Pennsylvania, I'm looking here, Pennsylvania, Biden, Harris, plus the DNC, $131.7 million.
Yeah, 314 million, I think, overall when you add both campaigns together.
$1 billion if you throw in the Senate race.
That's right. That's right.
No, on one state. I remember making a big deal like 12 years ago. We had $1 billion presidential campaign. One state.
Isn't that so funny? Because it started out as a tie, and now tonight we're ending up, and it's a tie right now. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're going to be living and breathing Pennsylvania.
That's interesting, though, what Tom just mentioned about the exit poll. And again, do your caveats, but for Trump to win the Hispanic vote in Pennsylvania would be pretty huge because there's a big Hispanic population in Pennsylvania, especially in that Lehigh Valley.
That's right. There's a big Puerto Rican population in Pennsylvania too, the most of any battleground. So let's talk about where that is. And I want to start with the national Latino vote here. And Savannah, love you for the grain of salt caveat. We know that these exit polls could shift a little bit, but here's what's so interesting here. It is Kamala Harris, of course, the vice president, who is winning the Latino vote over former President Trump, 53% to 45%. This is nationwide. But the number that you want to look at is this 45%. That is because of the overperformance of former President Trump nationally among the Latino vote. And you can see it here. He's 45% this year. 2020, I mean, this is a double-digit plus overperformance from where he was just 4 years ago. And if you get into some of these key battlegrounds, Tom mentioned Pennsylvania. We were just talking about Nevada, looking at my clock where the polls closed like 7 minutes ago. It is a similar story here. If we can pull up Nevada, you can see Latino voters, about 17% of the electorate there, broke for Kamala Harris, 48% to Trump, Donald Trump, 46%. But again, it's about the overperformance. He is doing better with this group than he did 4 years ago, again, by a double-digit margin over the course of 4 years. So as I walk back to the desk, I will tell you, this is something, and Chris and I know will back me up on this, as we've been talking to our sources around the Trump campaign. What did we hear again and again? That they thought they were going to overperform with Black and Latino voters, Latino men. An interesting and important story here tonight, guys.
I want to bring in someone from our insider's desk right now. Jim Messina was campaign manager for President Obama's reelection in 2012. Jim, what are you seeing here right now? And what are each of the sides telling themselves based on this data?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Tom just showed the most important two counties that I'm following in Pennsylvania. Early vote in Allegheny County, Pittsburgh, better for Harris than expected. Then you look at Bucks County. When I was Obama's campaign manager, I was obsessed with Bucks County. And so far, it's looking like very early numbers, but she's doing really, really well. We talked about the Latino vote. That is a very scary number for the Harris campaign. They're going to want to do better. But the thing around the exits that we haven't talked enough about is really the senior vote. Kamala Harris is doing better with white seniors in the exit polls and some of the early results than expected, than a little bit better than even Joe Biden. You'd rather have those much more high propensity voters and a lot of a bigger overall number with those seniors. So those are three things that I'm seeing very early that make her campaign pretty happy. But in general, Trump is running up numbers in rural better.
All right.
p.m. Eastern Time, Montana, Nevada, Utah. We'll bring you those results as soon as we have them. A live look for you here at the Trump Victory Party in West Palm Beach, Florida. Very
Yeah, I had to refresh.
Hey, you got milk? We do. This is 50 cups of milk. Look, in a survival.
4 different radio programs, one in Pittsburgh, one in Philadelphia, one in Atlanta, and then one in Raleigh, North Carolina. Each of them strategic choices showing where the campaign thought potentially in these late hours, these last hours of voting, they thought they could still mobilize voters. And then the vice president took an unannounced trip over to DNC headquarters in Washington. She was greeted by the DNC chair, Jamie Harrison, and she arrived with deep thanks and boxes of Doritos for the volunteers there. She spent a bit of time, the vice president did, manning the phone bank. At one point, she asked if someone had voted. And she asked their name and said, well, I'm Kamala Harris. And then she said, we're waiting for you to grow 10 years, meaning that the phone banks had succeeded in placing the Democratic Party nominee on the phone with an 8-year-old. In any case, the last we heard from the White House press pool that is holding steady at the vice president's residence was that there was a lid, which is a White House lingo, meaning nothing's going on, nothing to cover, no movement, no events, until 9:45 p.m. Eastern time. That's just the earliest, according to the White House, that the vice president might set out the few miles journey across Washington, D.C. from the vice president's residence here to her alma mater at Howard University. John and Bianca.
Just real quickly, James, you said there's people gathering there, but no one's behind you. Are they corralled off over? Is there like an open bar or something? It just seems so lackluster there. And
do we have an open bar?
I know said network, they're cheering, so maybe it's TV monitors, or they put you in the cheap seats.
Well, through research and deep investigative reporting, I can confirm that there is no open bar present here tonight. But I'm going to ask my cameraman, Mike Palmer, to widen out and pan out a little bit so we can give you a better view of the scene here, and maybe push in, if you could, Mike, so that you can see the several thousand supporters. The vice president, when she speaks, is going to be standing at a lectern.
So yeah, we're gonna go here next, and we're gonna keep things going. Yeah, we're gonna keep things going here.
For Josh Stein as governor, but then Donald Trump as president. Otherwise, we would have a projection already in that state right now. They say that is an indicator that gives some anxiety right now going forward that North Carolina may not be a state that they're able to win. If that happens, and these are all ifs, it's all very early here, that does again shrink their path to victory to 270. They really are relying heavily on those blue wall states right now. And one of those key states, obviously, is Pennsylvania, the biggest prize of them all with 19 electoral votes. I spent many of the last several days up there, and I was in the urban centers where the Harris campaign put a lot of its energy, including in Philadelphia, and particularly in places like Philadelphia, where they were sending buses up there to knock on doors to help swell the number. They're really relying on big numbers in places like Philadelphia and the collar counties that surround it. They need to run up the numbers among some of those suburban women in particular, the suburbs more broadly right now, and in Philadelphia. So that's where a lot of them are hanging their hat, at least according to the allies I'm speaking to right now. We're going to keep a close eye on that as this night progresses.
All right, Peter Alexander, thanks very much. I think we have a call now in the Texas Senate race. NBC News projects that Ted Cruz will retain his seat again in Texas. Democrats have taken some big swings in recent years in Texas, but unable to land a haymaker. Colin Allred will come up short tonight in his bid to unseat Ted Cruz.
Let's go to Chuck on this because, I mean, Texas is the white whale for Democrats. Chuck Schumer, the Democratic campaign committee threw money in Texas at late in the game, thinking maybe there was something going on there. Texas has a very restrictive abortion ban, as we know.
The Democratic Party went way late into both of those two races. They were sent a signal to donors for a year and a half. We're not going to bother with Texas and Florida. They're too expensive to do, and they had too many incumbents to defend in Ohio and Pennsylvania and all of that. Then Allred just kept hanging around. So they thought maybe late money, but this is, you don't just flip a, notice we haven't seen any big flips tonight in general. You don't just flip a state in 3 weeks. You don't just show up in 3 weeks and think magically things are going to happen. Not with how embedded, not with how nationalized our conversation is, not with how polarized we are. And this is a case where at some point the Democratic Party, if they're serious about Texas, they're going to spend 4 years there. You can't just do it in 4 weeks. And it's the same story we just talked about in Florida. And this is the difference. Again, I go back. The Republican Party for the last 4 years has been much more aggressive. You heard Garrett talk about it, and the Trump campaign is flexing its muscles because it worked. They had massive voter registration campaigns for the last 3 years, and it has padded them. It's what Texas, look, Republicans got stronger in Texas. I mean, that Latino vote in Texas, when you've got over 60% Latino men moving in Texas towards the Republicans, that's realignment. That is realignment that's happening.
And I think we have another Senate call to make now in the, I believe, in the state of Maryland. NBC News projects that in Maryland, Angela also Brooks will win. And there's against Larry Hogan, former governor, difference 171,000 votes there.
So here's the Senate at this hour. The Republicans have picked up 1 seat. They need to pick up 2 to take control of the Senate. And the ones hanging in the balance right now in terms of that are Ohio, Sherrod Brown in the fight for his political career in Ohio. We've got Michigan we're watching, Alyssa Slotkin trying to hold on to that seat after retirement there.
And Montana would
and
be
Montana.
the flip. If it flips, that would give Republicans control of the Senate.
Absolutely. I think Montana and Ohio are the two, if you are Republicans, that you're watching quite closely to see if they can flip those states. I do think it's notable when you think about the realignment that Chuck is talking about. You think about the state of Pennsylvania, the Latino voters, the split there. The fact that what Trump is running on, remember, is his first day in office to start a mass deportation plan. A lot of folks have asked him for details about what would that actually look like. He has not given them, but it is notable that he's increased his support based on what we're seeing so far amongst Latino voters, that is something that has resonated with them. Democrats making that late play to try to win them back. And so far, based on what we're seeing, didn't work.
And yet the exit polling also shows that more people do not want to see immigrants deported if they are here illegally here. They want to see a pathway to legal migration here, which is another nugget we got from the exit poll. So interesting dynamics at play on this issue.
All right, let's go over to Tom Yamas. He's got the big board going, and the state of Iowa, which has been of intrigue since a Saturday night surprise at the poll.
It was a huge question mark. If you woke up on Sunday and you watched Meet the Press with Kristen Welker, it was a huge headline, right? People woke up on Sunday, and according to the Des Moines Register poll, Harris was up by 3 points within the margin of error. The politics desk just pointed this out to me. Let's dig in because we have some voting data now. 45% of the vote is in, but let's look at Polk County. This is the biggest county, the most people. This is Des Moines, the capital here. So she's on top, 55% to 43%, 94% of the votes in. But look at Trump's margins. Trump's actually doing better than he did in 2020. Let's go over here to another county, Dubuque County, 94% of the votes in. Trump's at 52. Trump was at 50. So he's growing in both those districts, in both those counties, I should say. For Democrats to flip Iowa, he has to be doing worse in those counties. Again, look, there's still a lot of vote out. A lot of vote has to come in. But this would be a shocker if Republicans lost Iowa. Remember, Trump won 98 of the 99 counties in the primary. And when you go back to elections past, he won by 8 points in 2020, and he won by 9 points in 2016. So my point here being that if the trend was Iowa was going to turn blue, she has to be turning out the votes in Des Moines and in other places, and right now that's not happening.
We actually have a call right now. Let's play the music here. Projection in Iowa will go red, as was widely expected until that poll. Right there, Trump wins the 6 electoral votes of Iowa, and so we can see the breakdown there with about half the vote counted there. So there was this thought that perhaps
Iowa going red.
Abortion ban that just went into effect in July, and this highly respected pollster coming out that perhaps there was going to be a wave of independent women who could somehow turn this red state blue, but this was not to be, Chuck.
No, I mean, look, this is a miss because this looks exactly the way Iowa looks 4 years ago. You know, we're in margin of error range there. So look, she thought she had found something
This
with
is the pollster that we're talking about, yeah.
independent women looking like they were choosing, and certainly we've seen some evidence of it in national polls, a point or two here or there. And look, I've seen it throughout the Midwest, but it's a point here or a point there. I don't know if it's enough to make up for the loss of voters of color that have cleared. I mean, that continues to me to be the big story of the night, is the shift among Hispanics. Look, Hispanic voters are swing voters, and I think, you know, what's interesting here is the Republican Party treated them the same way they treated white working class voters. They courted them the same way they treated white working class voters. The Democratic Party has spent a lot of time treating it as an identity group, you know, and whether it's Latinx, which sort of fell flat, and so there's been a lot of hand wringing about this inside Democratic circles, a real split, like, you know. It was a total misread sort of by the coastal strategists when it comes to how to target working class voters of color. And I think we're starting to see sort of a working class coalition start to drift to the right. You know, before Donald Trump had working class whites. Now he's adding working class Hispanics and working class, not necessarily seeing evidence of working class African Americans, but adding working class Hispanics. That becomes a very durable majority.
Well, another way of saying that is the education gap.
Well, it's the
whether
same
you're
thing.
College educated or non-college educated.
It doesn't matter your ethnicity. It matters your education.
Right.
But is it Donald Trump or is it the Republican Party?
Or is it the Democratic Party? Okay, meaning like I don't, you know, it's the Democrat. It is, first of all, Latino voters in many ways are driven by the same issues. And there's one issue in particular, actually, that Republicans align closer with Latino voters, or Latino voters align more closely with the Conservative Party, and that's school choice. And that has been, and you can't help but wonder, both Florida and Texas have been very aggressive about expanding school choice. Where have Republicans made the greatest gains among Hispanic voters? Florida and Texas. So education, the economy, those issues, bread and butter issues, and that is how they talk to them. I'm not saying Democrats weren't, but for the sort of the cultural issues don't play as well with Hispanic voters as they may with college-educated whites or even African.
And we saw the Trump campaign hammer some of those issues
Over
in
and over.
ads over and over again. Take a break right here. Coming up next, things are heating up. The votes are rolling in. We've got the latest on the battleground states, and we're inching closer to that 270 mark. Stay with us. Election night rolls on.
Mornings are full of possibility and energy. And how you get set for the day ahead matters. It's about getting caught up and getting ahead, because every day deserves the best start.
What's the message that you're trying to get out to young people?
Know what is in their drug supply.
We've got important news this hour about your money.
Mental health, big picture, why is it so tough right now?
News for the generation of now is NBC News Now.
Listen to full episodes of Meet the Press wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to NBC News coverage of the road to 270 now. There's where things stand. Donald Trump out with 207. And we're able to make a projection characterization in Virginia. 13 electoral votes. They're too early to call that race in Virginia. We move to Nebraska right now. That race also too early to call. Less than half of the vote in, so still a ways to go there. We move to Minnesota. And Donald Trump and Kamala Harris right now, that's too early to call. Trump out to an early lead. In Pennsylvania, this is one of the big battleground states, could be the biggest. 19 electoral votes, too close to call, the characterization. Wisconsin, another battleground. Here's where it looks right now. Too close to call, a difference of fewer than 8,400 votes there right now, and 47% in, so more to count there as well.
Brings us over to Tom Yamas, who's looking at Wisconsin. And what are you seeing in these early numbers?
So a quick reminder, when you think about Wisconsin, think of 20,000. That was the vote difference in both 2016 and 2020. That's what decided the vote. Trump won in 2016. Biden flipped it in 2020. Right now, 47% of the votes in. We want to dive a little deeper and look at some of these counties. We're going to start with the biggest one, Milwaukee. Again, we're still waiting for a lot of the vote in Milwaukee. We're expecting this a little later in the night. 51% is in. Let's see how Harris is doing compared to Biden 4 years ago. She's down about 3 points, 3 or 4 points, 2 points, actually, we should say. But we're still waiting on the vote there. Let's go over to Madison. This is Dane County. This is where the University of Wisconsin is. This is one of the fastest growing areas of the state here. 75% for Biden in 2020. She's 2 points down, but again, 75% of the vote is still out. Let's talk about the Republicans now. We talk about the WOW counties. These are the counties around Milwaukee. The first one, Waukesha here. Trump's at 59.6. 77% of the vote is in. He's slightly underperforming by a percentage point or two. Let's go over here to the O and WOW, Ozaki, 55. He's at 54. So, a slight change, but almost around the same margins. And then Washington doing much better. 50% of the vote is in, 49. He was at 68 in 2020. He's now up to 70. The other part where they do well in the other part of the state, in Green Bay, it's called the BOW. So, yes, it's the BOW counties and the WOW. Bow wow. I know that's pretty funny, but maybe it's not that funny. Anyways, Brown is Green Bay.
It'll pass.
Trump is 52%. He's up big time here. But again, only 33% of the vote is in. And there are a lot of Democratic votes in Green Bay as well. We're going to come down here to the O and BOW Outagamie, 54-57. Again, he's overperforming there. And then finally in Winnebago, 36%. I want to show two more counties you guys may have heard of, you may not have. Racine, these are suburbs of Milwaukee, getting closer to Chicago. These were counties that Trump flipped from Obama, and then he held them 4 years later. 15% in. Trump was at 51.68. That's a strong number for him. We go to Kenosha, which has been in the headlines, especially after the George Floyd protests. 50% in 2020, 73% in. He's overperforming there. So if you're looking at Wisconsin right now, I mean, the Republicans have some sort of positivity here that they're looking at. Sauk County is one of these counties that we watch that usually picks the winner of Wisconsin. Sauk is one, and Dorr is the other one. You've probably heard of Dorr if you've been following the political headlines lately. Our data out of Dorr is a little skewed right now, so we're going to wait till the numbers get corrected there for right now. But Sauk County, we can look at 48% is in. Biden won this in 2020. Trump won it in 2016, 47-50. You can see Trump's overperforming there. But again, still a lot of the vote is out. We're going to have to wait and see and what happens. And in case you're wondering, Sauk County, home of the International Clown Hall of Fame. So if you ever want to go down there and you're near Madison, drive over to Sauk.
We're getting to the witching
alert,
hour. We
Savannah.
got the
Fun
fact
fact
of the
alert.
wow.
That's
Fun
right.
fact alert from Tom. Welcome to the fun
we haven't
fact.
hit midnight yet.
Yes, exactly. Let's go to Stephanie Gosh. She's in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. A lot of hopes riding on Pennsylvania for the Harris campaign. What do you know?
Yeah, there certainly are, Savannah. We are here in Philadelphia at the tabulation center. This is where they're going through all those mail-in ballots. And, we've been noticing in recent weeks and months kind of a lessons learned category from 4 years ago. And this place is a perfect example of some of those lessons that have been learned. You may remember in 2020, the tabulation of the mail-in ballots in Philadelphia took place in downtown Philadelphia, and it was basically chaos. Now they're in this entirely new building. It is secured by a fence with barbed wire, and they are doing tabulation inside here. We're actually not allowed inside, but it's going on as we speak right now. And one of the unknowns back in 2020 at the end of the night was, well, just how many mail-in ballots are there out there? We don't know. Well, tonight, right before midnight, we're going to get a briefing here from the city commissioner, from Seth Bluestein. He's going to tell us how many of those mail-in ballots from Philadelphia have been processed and how many they have yet to process, to give an idea of how much more time it is going to take. All of that, more transparency, this more security, so things go much more smoothly. Savannah?
All right. Thank you, Stephanie.
Back with our panel and guests, former Missouri Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill and Mark Lauder, former Director of Strategic Communications for the Trump 2020 campaign. Good to have you both back. How's the blue wall looking right now, Senator?
Well, you know what? I just got to say, with the exception of brave Ann Seltzer and her poll in Iowa, where clearly she did not get it right, it looks like the pollsters got it right in this election because I'm looking at these blue walls. If you look at at Berks County, Harris is underperforming. You look at Lancaster County, she's overperforming. It's going to be razor close. I don't think there's any question. Now, what we're going to have to figure out is, do we have a country where an election can be close and people can accept the results? That's the question that I'm beginning to worry about, that if these are all really close and they go the way of Donald Trump, I don't think there'll be any problem.
Well, Mark, we live in a 50-50 world. I mean, we do. I mean,
We really do.
And it's not going to stop after, you know, Wednesday or beyond.
No, and one of the things I'll tell you, I'm looking at right now is Philadelphia itself, because while Kamala Harris has her margin, the numbers aren't there. She's about 2 points behind right now of where Joe Biden was, but there was a 471,000 vote difference to offset the rural areas. Right now, with 50% of the vote in, the last time I looked, she's on pace for maybe 390,000, maybe 400 or so thousand. That's if the current margins hold, and that's a projection. She needs to be above 450.
Yeah.
And if we're down there in that, right, because right now it's about 190,000 vote difference with 50% in.
It's early, but I mean, it seems like what we're gleaning from exit polls and other data is that the Trump campaign is overperforming, doing very well with Hispanic voters and young men. That Joe Rogan army appears to be real in a lot of these places. Is that what you're seeing, Mark?
No, absolutely. I think they're very excited by that, and they also see that they're overperforming in rural areas. I think they're trying to cut their losses in the urban areas and in some of the suburbs. It's not always working, but I think in some of these key battleground states, it's panning out right now.
Claire, what are you hearing from the Democratic side?
Well, first of all, I think that there's a lot of people on the Democratic side that are paying a lot of attention to what's happening with Sherrod Brown and John Tester right now.
How about that? Yeah.
Because the fact that it's been called for Trump in Montana and it hasn't been called for the Senate race gives you an indication. Same thing in Ohio. And I think everybody needs to remember what Lester just said is true. It's a 50-50 country. Let's assume for purposes of this conversation that, in fact, they take the Senate. And let's assume for purposes that Trump wins the presidency. They're not going to have more than 51 votes in the Senate, maybe 52. And you have a couple of Republicans that are not all on board with some of the Trump stuff, like Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski. You could actually have a situation where the Senate is frozen in either administration. Depending on how it goes. So now's a time that I think that regardless of how this turns out, I think the leader of this country needs to realize it's time to quit dividing and try to unite and figure out if we can't find ways to work together.
We have a divided Senate. I mean, already the status quo is, essentially tied with Democrats having control with the tie-breaking vote of Vice President Harris. We haven't even talked about the House, possibly because it will be weeks before we know. But Democrats are hoping to take back control of the House. They only need to net out 4 seats, so those races will go. But once again, I mean, you just look at a country, to Lester's point, that is very divided, and this is what the pollsters were showing, and right now, so far, that is what the results are bearing out.
And I will say, we're sitting here, it's 10:30 Eastern time. This is kind of a little bit of a strange moment. We have some data in, but not all. We have a lot of exit poll data in, but not a ton of vote count yet. We still have a ways to go. We haven't called a single key battleground state yet. So this is an interesting moment in the evening, and I think it bears having this conversation, because when you look at the strategies from each of these campaigns, the vice president did something very specific. She looked to once she got into the race not too long ago, she looked to cast Donald Trump as a danger to democracy, but she also looked to make the positive case for herself and why she should get another 4 years. Her campaign spent so much time in places like Wisconsin. Think about that Ripon visit, the birthplace of the Republican Party, bringing out Liz Cheney, former congresswoman on the Republican side. I think everybody knows who the Cheney family is, trying to reach out to this tiny slice of people who aren't quite totally in their tribal corners. Former President Trump looked to supercharge his base.
But it's so interesting because you say it's a tiny number, and it is, but these were Haley voters, a lot of them. I mean, Kamala Harris went around with Liz Cheney.
Yeah.
They went to these
Adam
color counties.
Kinzinger, all these, yes.
And in Arizona, we saw, Jimmy McCain and some of these big names, former Republicans, Jeff Flake, who are out there. She was trying to find those moms, those suburban women who just had enough with Donald Trump.
Let me just pause the conversation very quickly because we have a call now, I believe, in Nebraska. Okay, this is NBC News projects that 3 of the 5 electoral votes will go to Donald Trump. 3 of 5, you ask? That takes me to Tom. I'll let you explain it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Again, so Nebraska, remember, they give out their electoral votes for the popular vote. Whoever wins the state, they also give them by congressional district. From what you just reported there, projecting one of the congressional districts, it's going to be District 3. It's going to go to Trump. There are 2 other congressional districts, 1 and 2, that we're still watching. Nebraska District 2, this is the big one that we've been watching. It's the swing district. The other one, Nebraska 1, usually goes red. We're still waiting on some vote there. It hasn't been called yet. But again, Nebraska 2 is the big one because if it came down to that 269 scenario, we would come here to Omaha. Nebraska District 2 is Omaha, which is Douglas County. It's also a neighboring conservative county, Saunders, and a little bit of Sarpy as well. I think we just can't call it. The difference is 22,000 votes. That's what the difference was in 2020 when Biden won the state. So Democrats are in good shape right now. It's unclear how much of the vote is out. Let me see if I can come back and see if we can get how much of the remaining vote is out in this state. We can't check it just yet. As soon as we have a call on Nebraska 2, we'll bring it to you. It's 1 electoral vote, but in a razor-tight election, each electoral vote is important, guys.
All right, let's take a look at the battlegrounds. It's 10:35 in the east, 7:35 in the west, and we've got all battlegrounds closed right now and votes being counted. And too close to call is something you're going to hear me say a lot over these next few moments. That's the story in Pennsylvania, about 58% of the vote in there. In Michigan, also too close to call, the battleground state where both candidates spent a ton of time alongside Wisconsin as well, too close to call at this hour, still counting about half the vote in there. Let's go down south, the Sun Belt path. Georgia, too close to call. Biden won it by a hair in 2020. Donald Trump trying to get it back tonight, too close to call. In North Carolina, we're still calling it too early to call, so we're waiting for more vote there, even though 84% of the vote is in. In Arizona, too early to call, too. We just had the polls closed there about 90 minutes ago. They got to wait a little bit before they can even start counting votes there. And same thing in Nevada. It'll be a while there. And in fact, if you mail your vote in Nevada, I think you can mail it. It could be land there as late as Friday, actually, and still be counted. Those are the rules in that state. So here's the road to 270, and it's being filled out along the familiar lines that we've all become so familiar with over these last couple of presidential cycles with those big question marks. Tom, let's go to Pennsylvania because I think this is, we've often said this will be the ball game, and we're starting to get more vote, and maybe we could look at some of those bellwethers, like in Erie County, for example, or Lackawanna County. What are you seeing?
Yeah, we're also seeing some outliers as well, Savannah. I want to show you what I'm talking about. Center County, it's in the center of the state. This is red right now. 68% of the vote is in. Biden won this in 2020. Hillary Clinton won this in 2016. Why am I highlighting this county? Let me move the map over again. Center County, this is Penn State. This is Happy Valley. This is a university county. The Democrats should be on top right now. Again, there's 68% of the vote in. They could still catch up, but Trump is on top right now. I want to go back to Eastern PA again, which has changed because a lot of people from New York and New Jersey have moved to the eastern portion of the state. We're talking about Northampton. This is one of those bellwethers, Savannah, you were talking about. It almost always picks the winner going back to like the Kennedy years, I think. Trump won it in 2016. Biden won it in 2020. Right now, Trump's on top. 73% of the vote is in, so there's still vote out. Those things could change. Again, it's still early. We're not calling these counties as well. I want to zoom in here. This is Berks County. I'm going to zoom in. Reading, PA. This is a city where Hispanics are the majority here. 92% of the vote is in. Trump is up at 56. It's not a huge surprise, but what it shows is that he's overperforming. He won this county in 2016 and 2020, and tonight he's overperforming. Again, some of that vote is still out, but we're watching that. Finally, I want to look at Scranton right here, okay? Lackawanna County. Republicans thought they maybe had a chance in Scranton at least to peel away some of the votes there. Again, this is where Joe Biden was from. People wondered if he got the friends and family discount there with voters. she's underperforming tonight. 51% right now. Biden was at 53 in a state where it could be determined by 40,000 votes, 80,000 votes. Every little bit matters. If they're looking at the map right now and you're a Republican, you're probably feeling a little bit better. But again, I just want to say it's still so early in the night and there's still a lot of vote out. Philadelphia County, just because this was brought up on the set earlier, 62% of the vote is in. Biden was at 81. She's at 77. A lot of the vote is still out. But again, she wants to be in the same high watermarks where Biden is, guys.
Yeah, Mark Lauder was just here. You know, you staffed Vice President Pence, and you're obviously a longtime Republican operative. You think there's not enough vote for her to make up that margin?
Well, there's still a lot out there. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, all of these things start to add up. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. And so if you drop 40,000 votes in this state, maybe 6,000 or county, this 6,000 in another, next thing you know, you run out of options. I'll leave it to the brilliant minds in the decision desk to figure it out when that happens. I'm not nearly that good at math, but it's starting to look a little more encouraging. And when you see the Latino vote come in, when you see some of the closing of the gap with the young voters, it's starting to add up.
Well, let me just jump in on that because there are several places, as we're starting to now at this point in the night get some trends across battlegrounds when it comes to exit polling with all the necessary caveats that you have heard by now. And there's a few places where former President Trump is making improvements from his performance 4 years ago. It is Latino voters, as you talk about, Mark. It is voters under 30, as you talk about. It is independents. He doesn't mean he's winning them, but he's doing better than he was 4 years ago. Here's where her improvement is, and this is interesting. It's with seniors. It's with voters over the age of 65. And we're starting to see
You
that
pointed
trend for
to
her
me
as well.
when you said
No,
seniors.
oh my gosh, Savannah,
and I just want to let everyone know that we noticed.
It deflected off your shoulder and hit me straight.
To full disclosure, we talked about it in the commercial break like 2 hours ago. So it was more of a callback to something that I forgot we didn't say on the air because we're chit-chatting constantly. But the seniors piece of it is interesting because think about who actually gets out and votes, right? Who is more likely to get out there and vote? It is seniors. So there's some fascinating dynamics at play. And as we're all talking about, 10:40, we're only on our first cup of coffee.
I think one of the dynamics at play as we watch these results come in that's so fascinating. You think about how close, what a tough slog Pennsylvania is as we watch this come in. And you think about that decision that she made to have Walz as her running mate, as opposed to Governor Josh Shapiro. So as we watch this come in, and even on the day that she made that announcement, a lot of people question, what would Pennsylvania look like with Shapiro on the ticket? And
Governor
you have
Shapiro,
to think folks are thinking
well,
about
I mean,
that.
if she loses Pennsylvania, you can guarantee that story is already being written. I mean, Senator McCaskill, Josh Shapiro has, even in pretty red counties, is a very popular governor.
He is, but so is Tim Walz in the Midwest. And I think what her decision was, one of judgment, where she looked at somebody who had a resume just like hers, and she looked at someone who was much different. He wasn't Ivy League. He wasn't all smooth. He was relatable and a coach and somebody who really kind of oozed Midwestern relatability. And I think she thought was an add plus as opposed to just a mirror of who she was. And, I don't know if it was the right call or not. I think they're both terrific people. Either way, they're going to be around. Shapiro's not going anywhere. You may see him on a ballot in the future.
Yeah, I'm just going to call it out. You sound like you see the end here.
I don't. I do think that, obviously we're disappointed about North Carolina and Georgia because there was a real feeling that there was such a good ground game compared to what the Trump
And to be
team
clear,
was
we
doing.
haven't called those.
No, we haven't. But I'm looking internally at the numbers, and they're not as hopeful as I would like them to be. I still think we have a path, obviously, in the blue wall states. And I don't think anybody knows how Nevada is going to turn out. And I think that is another one. We could have 4 states that determine the presidency that are all decided by less than a half a point.
Okay. Thanks for that.
That's so 2024, Senator.
How's that?
Let's go to NBC News correspondent Ellison Barber now in Gwinnett County, Georgia. Ellison, how are things going there?
Hey, Lester, so we're starting to get initial numbers from the early voting in this county. Initially, they were a little delayed in uploading some of those to the public because they said they were having difficulties with their software of getting a clear image. They were going line by line with a Republican watcher, a Democrat watcher, and other election officials getting those votes up. But now they have those reported, and based on the percent of early votes that are out, Harris is leading in the early votes that they have tabulated in this county so far, but still they haven't counted any of the precincts that reported today. That process still happening here. So you see these people coming in. They're all people who have come from the different precincts in this county. There are 156 precincts in Gwinnett County. What they're dropping off right now, you see these purple bags here. Those are provisional ballots, in addition to a lot of blue bags. And the blue bags, I'm told, have official election material that had to be returned, pamphlets, things that sort of gave directions to the election workers, all of that stuff coming in now. It's coming in waves. The first wave of stuff that was brought in from precinct captains on were the memory cards with the vote. That's something that election workers tell me is a thing that's changed over the years. They said they used to get everything, the election materials that had to be returned, provisional ballots, and the memory cards with the votes all at once. And because it took a while to clean up, it would take a little longer for those memory cards to come in. Now they get the memory cards first, then the rest of the materials. The memory cards, they're actually in all these little bags. You see them unzipping there. Those are from 156 different precincts. Each precinct has at least 2 memory cards that have the vote count from today on them. They go in here, they get processed, and they go out to the public. So they're still deep in that process right now. But let's go again to the back, because this is where we see a lot of activity happening on and off, whether it's the early votes being processed and scanned and tabulated, or mail-in ballots being opened and sorted, or provisional ballots being reviewed. So remember, the thing that we were watching in this county was what would the margins be like, because it leans Democrat. We expected Democrats to carry this county, but ultimately back in 2020, Donald Trump got 40% of the vote in Gwinnett County. And what Republicans were hoping was if they could notch that up by a couple percentage points, they could cut in to Harris's margins. And then if they also did well in Republican strongholds, could potentially carry the state. What we're seeing in turnout is turnout so far has exceeded the turnout numbers in 2020. And right now, based on what has been entered, Trump is holding at about 40%. So right now, those extra percentage points haven't come. Could that change? Yes, that's Tom Yamison's lane. We'll leave him on that. Over here, though, is where they're going through some of the different election material. And they've also been sorting provisional ballots. You can see them in the back here, Savannah and Lester. They're just busy working. They will be here late at night. They expected the last bit of stuff to come from the precinct to get here at 11:30. Savannah.
All right, Allison, thank you so much. We're going to take a short break right here. Many more poll closings coming up at the top of this hour, including California and its whopping 54 electoral votes, and a look at who's ahead in the race to 270 on election night.
Yo, 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 yo. So, yes, it is what it is here. And that's what's going down. You know what I'm saying? Seems like Trump is in the lead on the big picture right now. But, you know what I'm saying? Who knows what's going to happen? And it is what it is, though. You know what I'm saying? Listen, look, shout out to everybody. You know what I'm saying? And yeah. It is what it is, man. I'm about to, you know what I'm saying, bust a move. I got a few other things I need to get done before in the morning and stuff like that. Shout out to, you know what I'm saying, all my my MAGA friends, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. You know, and yeah, we're gonna see what's gonna happen in the morning. Shout out to everybody out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, share, subscribe, show me some love. You know, it is what it is, man. And yeah, let's make America great again. Mad love to everybody. And then, my friends, is the bottom line.